On Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Red, white, 24 double
24 Reno. Blue poncho. Monday.
Rambo, 59.
Blue 58.
43 Dallas.
Happy Football Friday, everybody.
What is happening?
Just talking Detroit Piston basketball.
Everybody got the fever, man. Go Pistons. Are they that bad? I saw the Spurs lost their 13th in a row.
Pistons didn't win a game in November.
The month is over.
Yeah.
They did. Wow.
They were up yesterday going into the fourth, and they lost to the Knicks.
That's impressive.
You can call it impressive. I'd call it an embarrassment.
Are they still? What year of the tank is this for Detroit? I'm just trying to look at what our future appears to be. What year of tank are we in?
This is a fun game. Last year that the Pistons made the NBA playoffs.
Ooh. I'll look it up because there's no way in hell I'm going to guess it. Do you guys know the answer to that question?
No. It's going to be a random year where they lost in the first round rather quickly, and nobody remembers that team.
As an 8 seed.
I'm going to
say
2017.
You are correct in the first round playoff loss.
Okay.
As in the last two times they have made the playoffs is as an 8 seed.
Yeah. So
if you want to go back to the last time they didn't make a playoffs as a 8 seed.
No.
Holy hell.
Last time they made the playoffs was what?
2018, 2019.
Okay. Missed it by a year.
They were 41-41. They got swept by the Bucks in the first round. They made it in 15-16 as an 8 seed, got swept by the Cavs in the first round. They made it in 08-09 as an 8 seed, got swept by the Cavs in the first round. The last time they made the playoffs as a non-8 seed was 2007-2008. That was the last time they won a playoff game.
Did Chauncey Billups
yes, he was
play for him for that team?
He did. They lost to the Celtics in the conference finals. That was like the end of their run.
If you told him that, like if I was Danny Meringue and I went to a game and I talked to him pregame the way that the media does, and you randomly said, Chauncey, super random, I know. Do you know the last time the Pistons made the playoffs as a non-8 seed? You were the point guard. I wonder what he would say to that.
Please don't let that be what happens in Portland, because that was when I was in high school. I was a senior. No, I was my freshman year of college.
Wow.
I was my freshman year of college the last time they won a playoff game. That's how long their tank has been going on.
I feel like he'd give you the most generic vanilla answer and then go off the record. Not surprising.
No, not in the absolute least. Doesn't get the credit for one of the worst run organizations in sports.
Currently, yeah, for sure.
16 years is bad, man. Not winning a playoff game in 16 years in the NBA. You get 4 cracks at it in the first. Just win one. Gentlemen sweep, all I'm asking.
Did you see what the Pacers did yesterday?
I did not.
Their owner sold a huge share of their team.
So I have this in my notes. We're not going to get to it today.
I know. That's why I'm doing it now. I'm like, I also have the same note.
At 6 o'clock. Did you see, is it Amin El Hassan?
Yeah.
Did you
El
see
Hassan,
that?
yeah. There's the bubble theory.
Yes.
This is not his theory. This has been talked about amongst media members off the record.
I assumed when I saw that tweet and I was like, hey, that's a good idea. You probably said it on the show 2 weeks ago, and then I was going to bring it up today, and you're going to be like, I literally brought that up 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, I don't pay attention. But that was the first time I had seen it.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a really interesting theory.
And then the Pacer owner sold.
Jody, come on, Jody. Time to jump in. Water's warm. To Billy.
I don't know what they're going to get for their media deal as a league. I can absolutely understand if they don't get nearly what people think they will.
I mean, they're going through an existential crisis
now.
It's
really hard. The in-season tournament has been a success. I know you don't care, and that's okay.
Are the ratings up on it?
Yes.
Okay.
They're up like 60%.
Oh, that's good.
Now, yeah, like the Kings-Warrior game was a in-season tournament game that I brought up the other day. I watched all those games last year. The in-season tournament is there. Those games are not driven by the in-season tournament. The Kings and Warriors generally hate each other.
Sure, it's a good game no matter when they play.
Yeah, so that's my point is like they've capitalized on the matchups with that tournament. But yeah, that league's in an interesting spot.
I mean, I think baseball's going through this right now too. I mean, they had ESPN not want as big of a piece of the pie the last time they negotiated. They used to have Wednesday night baseball, and they got rid of that. I think they do obviously a small portion of playoffs, but it's mainly just Sunday night baseball now. They had to sell a part of it to Apple TV. Their local TV contracts are going through it, which is what has bankrolled the sport forever. But Bally Sports and some of these other networks are going bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the sports that are non-football are hockey's kind of in a sweet spot where it's like they're not getting a crazy amount of TV money, so their bubble's not really going to burst because they're not to that level.
They know who. I feel like hockey. I don't like
Yes.
Batman, but they feel like they know who they are.
This is our niche.
We're the fourth team in the core four of American sports. We know we are.
Sure.
And we're just. That's it. It's that simple.
It's a big deal in Boston, New York, Chicago, right? Detroit. It's a big deal. Some places, we don't really care. That's just kind of their niche, and they stick to it.
I think they've focused more on their local markets. Like, they also have random markets where they've developed, the southern markets, Nashville, Carolina.
Is Carolina like?
Yeah, because it's in Raleigh. It's not in Charlotte.
They've had a good run here.
They get support, though. I know they've been good.
They've been good for a while.
Right.
They're like a team that could win a cup here. But yeah, the team, when they had the Southern expansion, the markets they went into that didn't have a lot of professional sports, they really thrived because that community embraced them as something of their own.
Yeah.
Similar to what Vegas did with the Golden Knights. Now, they got lucky because they were amazing right out of the chute.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often.
That doesn't happen very often. But yeah, some of the other spots where it hasn't quite gone as well is where there's a lot more professional sports, and you have to be good immediately to develop some goodwill.
The reality is we're such a football country that a lot of these things are on the back burner for people.
Until football's over.
Until football's over. But even then, like, you still get a pretty sizable amount of people that don't transition into something else.
Yeah,
hockey and NBA ratings tell us that.
Sure. I will say, I think the first of these leagues, mainly baseball and basketball, the first one that figures out that less is more, and I know it might hurt the bottom line initially.
I still push back on that idea. Everybody's like, you can't cut games. You're going to go get the money. I'm like, the NFL plays 17 games in their season.
Sure, it's a tough comparison because the NFL is the king of kings.
But you build it up. You build up the anticipation of matchups better.
You have to have a sense of urgency in your sports. You just do. And that's what the NBA, I guess to their credit, is trying to do with the in-season tournament. They want a sense of urgency in October, November, December that you usually don't get. You want conversation about your sport. But just having a full 82-game schedule, it just seems so easy to check in and out. Like, I don't need to watch this week. If the Pistons losing is a funny story, that's crazy they haven't won. I couldn't tell you who the top three teams in the West are right now. I could probably guess.
Oh, no. Hold on. Shut your mouth. You shut your mouth.
Well, now I feel like I can't guess. Now I feel like I'm not going to know the answer.
You could definitely guess.
I'm going to guess that Denver's up there.
Okay.
As a top three seed, is that correct? Give me a ding.
Is that all you're going to do?
Well, I'm going to keep going as long as I know that I'm right on one.
Denver is one, yes.
Okay. They are the number one seed in the West?
No.
Okay.
I didn't specify.
Okay.
You said top three.
Okay.
You said Denver. I said, yes, Denver's in the top three.
I'm going to go Phoenix?
No.
No, not a top three.
Not top four.
Not top four.
Look at you. You didn't even.
No. Dallas. I think Dallas is having a pretty good year.
Dallas.
Okay.
Number four.
Damn it. Who else could be up there? I know Golden State sucks.
Golden State is 10th.
I know they're down.
Yeah. Funny, when LeBron's teams are 10th, he gets made fun of every day, and Steph Curry's team, and it's like, why doesn't Curry play the young guys more?
I feel like the Clippers are having a really bad year. They're not in there.
The Clippers are not in there.
The Lakers.
The Lakers. Not in there.
Not there. No. Who else is? It's
going to blow your effing
New
mind.
Orleans?
New Orleans. No.
Not quite yet.
God, I feel like
New Orleans
has
is
been
the
playing
8th
good.
seed.
They're the 8th seed?
8 seed. I haven't seen these standings in 3 days, so seeing this is a nice reminder of what weird season it's been.
Memphis sucks. I know it's not Memphis.
Memphis is not there. There is an obvious team
that I'm missing here.
They were my darling going into the year. I said, I think this team's going to be top 4 in the West, and I have been right so far. They've lived up to the billing. But you don't listen to what I say on the show.
I have no clue. I'm trying to rack through my brain. Who did you build up?
Let me think. Who else nationally's had the take so then you can remember it?
Well, I know it's not. I know it's not the Spurs. We just talked about them losing 13 in a row.
Yep. Come on.
I'm running out.
There's a team you will never guess.
I'm running. Okay. Well, give me that team.
Minnesota is the 1 seed. They're the 1 seed.
Best team in the Western Conference.
14 and 4.
Might be the best team in the NBA.
Okay. Well, I'm not looking at standing. I'm just looking at teams. Oh, Oklahoma City. Is it Oklahoma City?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're 3.
Okay.
It's Minnesota, Denver, OKC, Dallas, Phoenix, Sacramento, and then your play-ins would be LA, Nolans, Houston, Golden State. Houston is better than Golden State.
Yeah, I've reached a point as a fan where it's like, if you tell me the season is 40 games long, and I know they're never going to do that, but there's like, okay, this is the only time you're going to see them this year, and it could be a tiebreaker in the playoff scenarios. Like, there's a sense of urgency. It's hard to build that up.
They keep talking about expansion. Obviously, Seattle and Las Vegas and the NBA. If you get to 36 teams, let's say you expand a little bit more, they want some cash flow and they want some expansion rights fees. Then you could go to, okay, we'll do it like soccer. There's just going to be a home and home with all the teams. That's 70 regular season games.
I'd be okay with that. I mean, that's not cutting enough in my mind,
But you are cutting.
you're cutting.
They're never going to go extreme with that cut.
No, but
But
could
if
you
you
imagine
did
if you only
that-
had games on like Friday nights and Saturday nights, and that was it?
You were basically playing 2 games a week, 2 or 3 games a week instead of 3 or 4.
You speak of Amin El Hassan with his owner take about the bubble bursting. He still has the best idea that I've heard so far. 58 game regular season, and you play twice a week. It's just like soccer. And you have everything to look forward to in a week. You're like, oh, here's our 2 games. These are our 2 opponents this week.
Guys aren't resting. They're not sitting out. You
Well,
would
if they
assume.
do, yeah, they do. There's a problem there.
But it's just, I mean, there's an issue because if you're a TV, like if you're ESPN or TNT or whatever, and you're looking at your bottom line and saying, are we spending this amount for a regular season package? Is it worth it if the ratings aren't there? And maybe the in-season tournament is enough to outweigh that, where these ratings get great and that ends up building up their package. But right now, I don't blame the networks for looking at it.
So you didn't watch the Blazer game last night?
I did not watch much of the Blazer game last night. No, I did not. I saw that they won, though. I'm glad that they did. Sure.
I almost went to a Portland Pilots basketball game last night.
Did you?
Yeah, would have watched their Ducks get murdered by 30.
Yeah, what's wrong with my Duck Lady hoops?
I don't know.
Funny, Sabrina Neskew's gone. The guy can't coach.
I mean, I got no retort. I got nothing.
I actually don't know at all. Are they good?
Well,
Are they
they-
bad?
I
And
don't
then-
assume they're
well,
not. They
they've
lost
had-
by 30 to
Well,
Portland.
the Lady Pilots at least go to the tournament.
That is true.
Yeah, they were off to a rough start though. They went to a holiday tournament over Thanksgiving and lost all 3, so that was a little
Never mind
unexpected.
my statement.
Okay. We just really suck.
I watched Oregon State men's basketball last night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Did
They came back against UC Davis.
Let's go,
the Fighting
baby.
Aggies.
Fighting Aggies. The
Yeah.
Beefs did it.
I already got my tweet ready if my team loses tonight.
Who do they play?
They play the Huskies tonight.
Oh, the football
The
game.
football
Sorry, I thought you
game,
were
yeah.
talking about- we were on
No,
basketball.
No, basketball. Oregon hosting Michigan, 12:30.
Yeah, I know
on
that's
Saturday.
tomorrow. Great scheduling. Let's put it head to head with the SEC championship game. I'm sure it'll get great ratings. I already have my tweet ready though. It's just, I mean, it's okay. We're a
Well,
baseball school now.
I don't think Jawan Howard wants to.
You're going to tweet if your team loses
It's all right.
tonight.
We're
We're
just
a
excited for-
baseball
We're
school.
just counting down the days for baseball season. Super regionals, get you one of these, boys. Get you one of these.
Why not choose golf or track?
They do have a cool new golf facility.
Golf facility
yeah,
they
I bet
opened
they
up.
Jake.
I bet they do.
Peter
Yeah.
Jacobson, shout out.
You got infinite amount of money. You should have everything. That's awesome. You got a new track stadium.
Women's golf team's loaded.
When the
in
pitchers-
Oregon, yes.
Oh, I love that.
When the pitchers and catchers report, I'm ready. When spring practice begin. Come on.
No, first
Go
game-
Giants.
Just on the baseball season.
All right. Well, you missed a hell of a show by Shaden in the second half.
Well, I'm glad that he went off. Is it good that they're winning games? Are we happy about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's.
Because aren't we supposed to be tanking?
They will still end up winning less than 27 games.
Yeah, that is true.
Like
That is
eventually, some of this will get shut down because they'll go, we have to be in the top 3.
true. No.
We've sacrificed too much to not be in the top 3.
I can't wait for that moment when you build up Shaden all year and then the last 25 games
shut
of the
him
year,
down.
hamstring injury, he's out. It's like, oh, great. The only thing we had was we're spending money on. Now he's gone.
Well, we'll see when they if and when they trade Brogdon and maybe Grant and whoever else they might deal.
Full disclosure, very quickly, because I won't have time to get to it today. I had a moment where I was jealous of an 11-year-old yesterday. Not my kid. I was watching El Tigre in his Hero World Challenge.
Yeah.
Shot a +3.
He ran out of gas on the
He's a
last
little
5
rusty.
holes.
He's never going to win again.
Hey.
Be honest with yourself.
You bite your tongue.
Be honest with yourself.
You
It's-
shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
He can't golf with that leg. It was nice to see him out there. I don't
Yeah.
care about his scores. He's the GOAT. He walked off the course on his 18th hole, and there was a little boy that had his name and Thomas's name on the whole like big stick sign thing.
Oh, the standard bearer.
Is that what that job is?
Mhm.
Standard bearer. Maybe an 11, 12-year-old walking off. Same time as Tiger. Tiger just put his hand on his shoulder and Made a nice comment and smiled at him, and I went, I'm jealous of this 12-year-old.
God, it's a lucky 12-year-old. Touch my shoulder, please.
Never watching that golf shirt again.
Can we pull that? Can that be a drop? Please. Touch my shoulder. Tigre. Touch me.
Oh, he smells like Nike and lotion.
You think any of that rubs off on your golf game? You
Not
go to
at
the
all.
range, all of a sudden you're striping the ball. You've been touched by the gods.
Swag, last time, we'll go on this. Last time you swung a golf club, because we talked about this during a break yesterday, and Dirt said, I haven't golfed in a long time. I don't know what that means for Dirt. I literally haven't played golf since July. Haven't swung a club since July.
Oh no, I played in the rain in a tournament
Oh, yeah, you did a charity tournament, right?
Yeah.
Out at Willamette?
down at Willamette Valley
That's
Country
right.
Club.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going on October.
That was October for you?
Last time I swung a club.
Brutal, a month. Must be tough for you, your life.
Tough life, man.
We have a lot to get to today, so
When's
let's.
the next time he's going to swing a club?
Well,
I'm squeezing in some winter rounds. You bet your ass. As soon as football season's done, I'm getting out on Saturday.
We'll see how cramped or bloated or hungry or whatever she is at this point. We'll see if that happens.
Listen here, honey. I'm golfing today, all right?
You suck it up. Put a Band-Aid on.
Lucky to get 9 holes in.
I always drop it drives her nuts. I always drop honey, it's 2023, okay? We're both pregnant, okay? We're pregnant. We're going through this together, okay? It's 2023, all right? We're all equals here.
You try to guilt her as she carries your
what
child.
gets thrown at you?
No kidding.
A couple of shoes, maybe a fork,
gonna say,
a couple of
is
heavy objects. Ow! Stab me with a fork, man.
All right, let's get it going. I asked this question when we start. Have you bought it yet? Have you made the purchase, Dirt? Have you made the purchase yet? I'll tell you what for. Next on The Fan.
Oregon Ducks football is on.
'cause I've been working all week.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mod CDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Dirt and Sprague with you. Saw something yesterday. I thought, I bet this gave Dirt a chubby. The cover of NCAA football.
I don't think it's officially the cover. I think they just put his picture on it.
Oh.
Yeah, but they announced that the game is on track to be released this summer. And that does give me a chubby.
I also I never saw the On3 logo, so that's
Yeah.
probably who did the Photoshop.
They had the
That sucks. I thought that was I'd seen it very briefly, and I'm like, gave Nix the cover. How about that?
I mean, he's got a shot at it, that's for sure.
Well, if they win the title.
If he wins the Heisman, he's got a pretty decent in on it. Yeah, they had to deal with, don't worry, I've been following this story closely. They were sued by a company that does licensing for college athletes about not having everybody in the kitchen, and they wanted more voices involved kind of thing. And then they've been criticized because I think they were only going to give each player like $500, like a one-time $500 check was all that they were going to get for appearing in the game.
That's it.
And so people were very critical of that, and then their lawsuits got settled yesterday. And so all steam ahead to the greatest video game of all time returning.
We have a lot to get to today, so let's start. Did you make your purchase yet?
I don't know. I haven't bought NCAA football yet. It's not out, not till this summer.
No, I'm not talking about NCAA football. I'm asking if you bought your Dak Prescott MVP ticket.
Oh, I love it. Somebody already texted in angry with you with that tease saying, "Damn it, Sprague, I know where you're going with this. Us versus us. Oregon versus Oregon, all capitals." That got texted in. No, but we had a listener also say that Ken Barkley gave that advice, and he bought the ticket, and he now has the second best odds behind Jalen Hurts.
Plus 475 following the win against the Seahawks yesterday. Swigart is 0-1 on Sprague and Line, so that was great for me, not for him. And Dak had himself a nice game, including the go-ahead, helped lead the go-ahead field goal that put him up 6, and they held on.
He did.
He had a nice night for himself, Dirt. I don't know where people are at on Dak Prescott. I kind of like John Shire. I said yesterday, I hate Duke. I will never support Duke. I will never root for Duke. There is not a scenario in play. If there's a team that does something worse, I will just choose to not root. I'll just watch whatever that game is. The Cowboys are that for me, too. I find myself, though, rooting for Dak, weirdly. He's gone through a lot in his life.
Yes, he has.
His brother committed suicide. I can't fathom what it'd be like to have a brother you're close with do that, and you have to just, hey, we need you to go win a Super Bowl now. And everybody trashes him the minute they lose a game, even if it's not necessarily all his fault.
That's a tough part. In some of their big losses, it has kind of been his fault.
Yeah, but they lost to Philly this year. And
that was not his fault.
I know he stepped out of bounds instead of getting in the end zone, but he played a really good game. That wasn't necessarily his fault.
Niner game, different story.
True. The grass and turf numbers that Al Michaels gave on that broadcast last night. Did you not see this?
Much better on turf than grass.
I mean, they're like Oregon State home and road splits.
Are they really?
He's an 85 quarterback rating. He's a 107 on turf. They averaged, I think, 30 points on turf and 20 on grass. When they play on real grass, they're a half of the team that they are.
I think that's because they had to go to San Francisco. That's probably part of it.
Well, Michael's Herb Street noted that on the broadcast. Do you know the two teams in the NFC with grass fields?
San Francisco and Philadelphia.
So they're in a battle right now because they may have to go to one of those two cities, and they just statistically, for whatever reason, have not played well on grass. I think some of that is also Philly and San Francisco, really good. But Dak is now being elevated into the MVP conversation.
Sure.
And if you think they can beat Philly in Dallas next week, you should get that ticket today because the value will get significantly worse. If he wins it, he might be minus money very briefly. I think the Dak Prescott ticket's interesting. I don't know if I think he's the MVP, but man, it's hard to argue the season he's had.
I did find it funny. We had a listener that tweeted us last night. I thought it was a great point. Funny what happens when you give teams on a Thursday night a full week off to prepare for the game. Because that was an awesome football game. We can make fun of, Dallas's defense or call them fraudulent because they didn't cover a 9-point spread. That was an awesome game, dude. Back and forth. I think there was a moment. I don't know. Did anybody even end up punting in that game? Because there was a time they showed a graphic in the fourth quarter that there were no punts.
I don't.
And I don't think they did.
because they had turnover on downs or they get field goal touchdowns.
Yeah, Seattle kept going for it, and they couldn't get it.
Geno
and
threw the one pick to Bland
threw the
in
one
the second half.
I'll verify.
41-35, no punts. Awesome football game. So round of applause for those two teams.
And the uniform.
The
Seahawks
yes.
uniform. I mean,
great.
come on.
That was an awesome. Thursday Night Football has been a dud largely all year. That was a great game. I have conflicting feelings on Dak because I feel like there's two different conversations going on. I will tip my cap to him because he's having a really good year. And we made fun of him in August about the whole interception thing. I'm not going to throw picks. We're not going to do that. He lost Kellen Moore, and it's like, oh, God, now Mike McCarthy's going to be calling plays. Offensively, they've looked really good this year outside of one game. Well, two, if you count the random Cardinals loss that they had earlier this year. You mentioned the Philly game. It wasn't his fault that they lost it. I have no problem putting him into an MVP conversation. His numbers back it up more than, per se, a Jalen Hurts does. He has 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions.
No punts.
He has no punts. Thank you.
Punts.
3 straight games without a pick. He's only thrown 1 in his last 5 or 6 games. Like, he's playing football at a really high level. The overarching Dak conversation, though, will get finalized in the postseason. Like, nothing that he does in the regular season, I think, will change the narrative about him.
I see. That's where I'll push back a little bit. You're not wrong to point to the playoff stuff and say,
dude, he's been really bad in the playoffs.
I'm conceding that.
You're really bad.
You are right. The playoffs is the ultimate measuring stick for him. Where I'll push back a little bit is winning a league MVP, man. That buys you stuff. That buys you some time. That buys you some cachet. It doesn't mean everybody's suddenly going to go, well, all right, universally, we have to all love Dak Prescott. But to win a league MVP, how many great players in this league have or never will win an MVP? I don't know if Herbert will ever win an MVP. He might if he could get a right coach.
Evidently, he needs Mike McCarthy,
but
not Kellen Moore.
It's hard, and to come in with the expectations, and then, oh, by the way, right before the season starts, his owner's not going to tell anybody he's going to trade for a quarterback. Yeah. That was a weird trade. They give a 4th round pick for that.
4th round pick, yeah.
Like, I don't know, given everything on him, I know they're not the Eagles. The Eagles are rare. I think he's had a great year, and an MVP would do a lot for him. You couldn't go into the offseason, even if they lose in the playoffs. Obviously, he throws 4 interceptions, it'd be different. But if he has an okay game and they lose, I don't think you go into the offseason and say, well, quarterback question. I think you evaluate how they lost or where their weaknesses are.
No doubt about that. Like, you're not looking at it wondering, is he the guy? But when they went to San Francisco in the playoffs last year, defensively, they were great. They held the 49ers to 19 points at home. Dallas scored 12, and he threw 2 interceptions and barely completed 60% of his passes. Like that, he can't have a game like that. And I think even if he wins the MVP, like we've kind of seen this with Lamar, and I push back on it to a certain extent, but Lamar has an MVP. And if you bring up the idea of Lamar Jackson being a top 5 quarterback worth the money, it's a controversial topic for some people. And I've never really understood that because I think he's propped them up. He hasn't been a beneficiary of what is around him to the level of maybe Dak Prescott in Dallas, who's had a really good defense at times. He's had an elite offensive line. He's had good weapons to throw the football to. They've been able to run the ball. Like, it's not like he has to go out there and do it on his own. If he wins the MVP and then goes out and they go to San Francisco in the divisional round or the NFC title game and he throws for 220 and 3 picks, like I think we're going to be right back to where we were going into the season.
2 things stuck out for me for Seattle. Lockett's drop might have cost them their entire season, and I know that's not necessarily fair, but like he catches that ball, they kill more clock, they're winning. Maybe they get a final score to seal it. And how do you not like quadruple check to make sure somebody blocks Micah Parsons on a 4th and 2 play? Everyone, Gino, you got to throw it up. Excuse me, sir. You've never played football. If your opinion is, Gino, you got to throw it up. It's like, all right, hike. Oh, there's Parsons. Bye.
Yeah.
You don't, it's people think you watch it on TV. Well, throw the football up. He had no time. He got the ball from the hike. Parsons is in his face. Nobody blocked him at all.
Those 4th down play calls, a lot were just horrific.
What was that run play?
The run play was bad. The screen on the last play that they tried to set up was horrific. They had the play where on the I think the second of the 4th downs where they just didn't check, and Njigba did not realize that he needed to be hot. If he just like takes 2 steps and turns around, Geno Smith can hit him and it's a 1st down. Instead, he's running for 10 yards with his back to his quarterback as his quarterback is basically backing up for his life and then just has to lob a ball up and he turns around like, oh, what happened? It's like, dude, everybody is blitzing. You have one-on-one cover. Just run a quick slant. And it's probably a touchdown. There's nobody deep. It was an all-out blitz. Those play calls were awful, and the checks were awful for Seattle.
I also love a white woman explaining what things mean from black athletes. Al, it says that he was standing on business.
Slang, that means. That was great. Jamal Adams, also maybe the worst corner safety I've ever seen in my entire life.
God, what was that coverage on that touchdown? What were you doing?
He had one big hit, though.
Yeah.
One big hit.
Yeah.
He is bad.
Yeah, that was a bad break. Seahawks had a shot there. Geno played really well. DK was a monster. And
they hadn't scored a touchdown, an offensive touchdown in 7 quarters.
Yeah.
And then they exploded. Big one for Dallas, though. They got to beat Philly next weekend.
Coming up next, let's start diving into the college football gauntlet. We've got the Pac-12 title game, obviously, a lot to talk about with that one. College football next on The Fan.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
If you've been arrested for DUI, you need a team of attorneys you can put your trust in. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, with almost an assured spot in the college football playoff field awaiting the winner. The Ducks and Huskies meet in Las Vegas tonight for the final Pac-12 championship game. Kickoff at 5 o'clock right here on The Fan. Our live pregame coverage starts at 1 o'clock. Oregon's grown to a 10-point favorite at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. In Corvallis, new head coach of the Beavers, Trent Bray, already putting out fires. Quarterback DJ Uiagalelei entering the transfer portal, while running back Damian Martinez has been arrested for suspicion of driving under the influence and will not participate in their upcoming bowl game. Seahawks give the Cowboys all they could handle and then some in Dallas, but come up just short, losing 41-35 despite Geno Smith throwing for 335 yards and 3 touchdowns. Trailblazers outscored the Cavaliers 63-49 in the second half, picked up their 3rd win in their last 4 games, 103-95. Shaden Sharp leading Portland with 29 points and 10 rebounds. The road trip continues Saturday night in Utah against the Jazz. College hoops on 910 ESPN Portland this evening. The Pilots welcome the Wyoming Cowboys to the Chiles Center. 6 o'clock tip, pregame coverage at 5:30. Portland currently 2.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino with a sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Go deeper on the Trailblazers. The Rose Garden Report with host Sean Highkin. Download This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
Keenan tweeting, it's the Trailblazers on a winning streak Friday. Sharp back, let's talk about the important things.
The big issues. Let's tackle them together.
18 second half points, 7 dishes from Scoot.
Look at that. He still can't shoot, but I'm glad he can pass.
Scoot can't shoot.
He is, I looked at his 3-point percentage last night. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's not good.
Like, stop shooting?
Don't look at his percentage because I knew it wasn't
it's-
good, and then I looked at the percentage and I was like, oh my God.
Do you know who I looked up the other day?
Who'd you look
Because
up?
I wanted to see how the first blank amount of games comped to it.
Yeah.
His shooting led me to Google Sebastian Telfair.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
That's neither here nor there. I appreciate it, though, Keenan. We have the Pac-12 title game to talk about today.
Yes, we do.
I think we're supposed to talk about the other local team that had the worst day possible yesterday.
Just piling on at this point. It's been a rough week. Been a rough week for your Beavs. And look, I'm not going to criticize anybody for something that I've done, but not a good look, and don't do it again.
We had a low, and then that was followed by a high, and then yesterday was the low. Very low.
We're back to a low again.
Well, you had Anthony Gould declare for the draft.
Yeah.
Fuaga's not going to play in the bowl game.
Mm-hmm.
DJ entered the portal, though. I want to just publicly note how weird, bizarre, and strange I think the fact that his dad
Very weird.
denied the fact that he was entering the portal 5 minutes before he released a statement.
That was really weird because Beaver fans were going with the not so fast, my friend, and his dad was like, facts, he hasn't decided. And then 30 seconds later, he sent out a long graphic, Beaver for life, I'm entering
And
the portal.
that's not a graphic he made 5 minutes. That wasn't a notes thing. That was like a, hey, I need a legit graphic made, and he wrote out or helped figure out what he wanted to
I
say.
think he's been working on that since Saturday.
So, like, Dave Uiagalelei, do you know what your kids are doing, or do you just purposely mislead people for whatever reason? I thought that was weird. And then later, it was reported Damian Martinez got a DWI for smoking weed and driving the car in Corvallis, Oregon. I don't have fun experiences with the police department down there. Personally, I have a story I could share. I won't, so I'll just say it sucks that he did that. It sucks that he got busted for it. I truly hope he learns a lesson from it. Pro Damien, though. I'm on Damien's side.
Look, it's a 19-year-old kid smoking weed, driving around. Like that's a tale as old as time on a college campus. You shouldn't do it. You hope you learn the lesson, but
Yes.
we all did it when we were 19 years old. I'm not going to kill a kid for it.
And he's not going to play in the bowl game.
It sucks that he's not going to play in the bowl game. I think there's a mixed emotion I would have as a Beaver fan going into the bowl game because part of it is, oh God, what's this going to look like? You mentioned all the names that maybe aren't playing or we know for certain are not playing. The counteract to that is, what if you get 4 quarters of Aiden Childs, man? Like, that's going to be a lot of fun no matter who you play.
Is it fun if he has nobody to throw to? They might play Clemson in the Holiday Bowl.
Yeah, bring it on. Clemson can't score on anybody. Their quarterback sucks. Take
nah,
down Dabo. Take down Team Jesus. Come on, you guys can do it.
I would love to take down Dabo. I actually want to go to that game in San Diego. I'd love to, but
Don't end up in El Paso. That's my only thing. I don't know where they're going to go, but don't end up in El Paso.
Well, DirecTV did a poll question. I think they're sponsoring the bowl game now, the Holiday Bowl, and of the possibilities, I think it was like an overwhelming vote for Oregon State and Clemson.
This is why, and I had this take kind of last year, and I don't know if everybody agreed with it. We went through this with your bowl game last year. It's like, dude, these are exhibition games now. You don't take anything from them. Half the teams, you played a Florida team that had no starters left, and it was the easiest bet of all time. Your team should have been favored by 45 points, but it was only like 14 and a half or something crazy. That was the lock of the century. There was no chance Florida was going to cover that number, and now you're kind of going through it this year. It's like, dude, you get one more chance to thank any senior that still wants to play, and you get a chance to develop some young guys for a game. It doesn't count against a red shirt. You get the opportunity to play your depth pieces in your youth. Like that, they're an exhibition now. They mean nothing. Don't take anything from bowl games.
They're in a weird spot.
Oregon State?
Yeah.
They're in a very weird spot.
They got to make their coaching hires. Their OC their DC. Well, I'm trying to think. I don't think he's running the defense.
He said he was good at his press conference. He said he was going to hire the OC first because he knows what he wants to do defensively, and he has a handle on that side of the ball.
His defense.
His biggest thing is offensive coordinator. Yeah. I imagine. I mean, we're hearing names that could happen sooner than later, which I think would be great. Get that in place, and you move forward. The portal opens up on Monday. If you can do anything before Monday, it's only going to help you.
You need to just do whatever you can to keep that portal as empty as possible.
Yep.
It's not off to a great start. I want to get to something involving one of those players we just brought up.
Okay.
Because it kind of involves your school as well. And we got a poll question on this. So we'll get to that coming up next. Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
Well, I used to wake the morning
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
on 1080 The Fan.
Pac-12 title game. We got a lot to get to. Ducks and Huskies were the only show on the station today.
Game day.
Dirt's a nervous wreck. Husky fan says they're not.
It's the cutest thing of all time.
It really kind of was like, my stomach doesn't hurt.
No matter what happens tonight, we had a great season.
Do you know
I'm sick to my stomach.
why? That expression.
I'm nervous as hell. Are you kidding me?
That's what I mean is like that expression doesn't actually mean like you're going to throw up. Like,
No, it's a euphemism.
yeah.
Come on.
This is
people.
the equivalent. I mean, not quite. I don't know. Maybe not quite to the level. Maybe a tad aggressive here. Like you play Washington every year. You're going to continue to play Washington every year. This is like when Duke and North Carolina met in the Final Four. I get that it's not a Final
That's
Four.
a very good comp.
But this is like
This
a
is to
quarter,
get to the Final
this
Four.
is a quarterfinal
Yeah.
game. It's like an Elite Eight game, if you will.
No, this is, I think
Like
you're
it's
right.
the biggest game in the history of the rivalry.
Yes.
It's not even close.
Not even close.
And whoever wins it is going to be insufferable.
I think your comp is dead on because, yes, it's not the actual Final Four of college football, but to get to the Final Four in itself,
You got to win this game.
You have to win this game.
Yes.
The last Pac-12 championship game.
it's the last Pac-12 game.
Yeah.
This, I mean, the bragging rights that come from it too, for Oregon to spoil the 12-0 season, to say, haha, we're the ones going to the playoff. Congrats on your 12-0. Future looks brighter for us, in your face. For Washington to win this game as a 10-point underdog would be their third straight win. Kalen DeBoer would move to 3-0 against Dan Lanning.
I don't know where you'd be mentally.
The
if they won this game.
ramifications either way are just, they're massive. They're absolutely massive for both sides.
Yeah.
How soon are you like eating before game day and that's your last meal? Like, kind of a big brunchy sort of thing after this show before the pregame?
I don't know. I'm thinking like 2 minutes ahead at this point. I have not even planned it out yet. I'm a mess today. I'm a wreck. I'm emotional. I don't know what to think.
I really won't be moved at all whoever wins this game. Like if Washington wins or Oregon wins, I'll just be like, oh yeah, okay, it's a really good team.
Good teams.
If Washington wins, I am gonna more be wondering how you're feeling.
Not great, Bob. Not great. And I got to wake up Saturday morning for a baby shower. You kidding me? At my house, all these people are gonna start knocking on my door like 9 o'clock in the morning. Oh,
I'm serious.
I'm gonna be miserable.
Did you send out the memo? Please, nobody wear purple.
Just don't wear purple. For the love of God, don't wear purple. Wear purple. If you're coming over.
Wear it all over the place. Well, if you win, who cares if they wear purple?
That's true. Then I just laugh. I laugh at it.
Exactly. There was a rumor yesterday. So DJ declares for the portal or maybe the draft, though many people think he's going to go portal. Two teams that emerged according to 24/7, Florida State and your Ducks. Now, I'm not surprised actually to hear Oregon. His brother plays there. I think he likes being here.
They were his number 2 school coming out of high school, too. I remember being at the game that Big Dave and DJ, I don't know if Mateo was there, but I remember after we got done with the pregame show, seeing them being carted around campus on a golf cart, and everybody's like, oh, it's DJ, it's DJ. Like, he was a big deal when he visited.
He also has a good relationship with Lanning because Lanning at Georgia, they were also recruiting him, and he met Mateo.
Yeah.
And Mateo, there was a photo they showed during the Civil War with Mateo at a younger age and way smaller, and DJ's, kind of 16, 17-year-old DJ. And basically the relationship was forged there. They got Mateo, and there's a lot of insiders that think he could choose Oregon. I don't know if Oregon will name him a starting quarterback. Maybe they will. They've got the weapons. I think he'd be fine there. I don't know if he'd be Bo Nix, but I think you guys would be fine. 4 quarterback option on a poll question I did. Bo Nix, or not Bo Nix, DJ.
Bo for a 6th year would be great. Can we get one more year of eligibility?
If Cam McCormick can get 9 years, why can't Bo Nix get 6?
One more year.
If he was given the choice, do you think he'd choose to come back?
I don't think so. Well, it depends on what happens tonight.
I think he would.
I think if they win tonight, if he wins a Heisman and they go to the playoff, I think that's like a culmination of his story. Whether no matter what happens in the playoff of it's the first time he's playing in a conference championship game.
Who's more dumbfounded by this season and the fact that he's probably winning the Heisman? Auburn fan or Oregon Duck fan after the Georgia game? Who would have believed that less?
That's a really good poll question. I think it's equal. Nobody believed it at all. An Auburn fan definitely didn't believe it, and I know how Oregon fan felt because I was one of them.
I was on our Twitter account. I saw how Duck fan felt that day. But your quarterback options appear Cam Ward, according to Brock Heward, Dante Moore, who is linked to the Ducks and announced he's in the portal now, and his grandma, I guess, posted some not flattery things about old Charles Kelly. Shocking. Chip Kelly, not a people person.
No, not at all.
DJ or who was the other one?
Cam Ward.
No, I already said Cam
Oh, you already
Ward.
said Cam Ward? Ty Thompson? Are you
Ty
forgetting
Thompson, thank you.
How dare you sleep on Ty Thompson?
I put his name first. It
Come
was
on.
Ty Thompson, Dante Moore, DJ,
My
or
guy.
Cam Ward.
Look, Oregon is going to take I've seen Oregon fan have some consternation over this because Ty Thompson deserves an opportunity. They're not.
Cam Ward is winning this going away. It's 47.5%, over 1,000 votes on this. Ty Thompson is second, though, with Dante third and DJ last.
Yeah, I think my pecking order, I would agree with the listeners on this. Cam Ward, to me, has the highest ceiling of anybody. The problem with Cam Ward is he has a lot of negative plays. What's ironic about that is you could make the same argument that was Bo Nix's problem at Auburn. He just tried to do everything, and he would turn the football over, and he'd try and run around, and he would take really bad sacks at inopportune times because he's trying to do everything by himself.
Also didn't have a team at Auburn.
No.
Not near this talent.
And Washington State, their offensive line was not great at times this year. We know that they cannot run the football.
Yeah,
so
they don't even try to run the football.
No, he has no balance.
He would hand it off 25, 30 times a game at Oregon, so you're going to eliminate.
You would take those plays away potentially.
Yeah,
Yes.
plus you don't have him running around getting hit.
Yeah, I would take Cam Ward any day of the week over DJ, and it's not even really close to me. Not that DJ had a bad year, or I don't think DJ could be good in another system if he ends up saying going to Florida State or something, but if you gave me the choice of those two, I would take Cam Ward. The Dante Moore one is really interesting because he was like the number 1 or number 2 or number 3 overall kid, depending on what ranking you look at coming out of high school. And do you know that 24/7 right now has him listed as the number 1 player in the portal?
I just wonder at some point if Lanning.
That's because there's not enough names in that yet.
There's Riley Leonard. There's some decent names.
They
that are
have him
entering.
ranked over Riley Leonard.
They do.
Is that because of eligibility? Because he
eligibility.
passed for 53%. He did not have a good year.
Well, this again gets back to how much of that is just not being put in a good situation, being thrown to the wolves as a freshman, and maybe that's what he signed up for. I don't know why he decommitted from Oregon and committed to UCLA randomly at the 23rd hour. Sure, but it's not like Oregon can't pay guys. Are you kidding me? Like, it's hard to outbid Oregon. I'm sure if he wanted that money, he could have come to them, but there was the speculation that he didn't want to sit for a year, that he wanted to play, but now he's complaining, or his grandma's complaining about being thrown to the wolves. It's like, well, what did you want? The ironic part for Dante Moore, though, is that some of these other guys are at the end of their career. They can transfer one more time. DJ, Cam, like, it's okay. If Dante Moore transfers somewhere, he cannot transfer again until he graduates. You get one freebie transfer, and then you can't, and if you do, you have to sit out for a year. So wherever he goes, he has to be okay if I'm not the starter right away, if this doesn't, like, he has to commit to a program that's actually going to develop him, and then he's committing to.
Certainly not blaming or saying, like, oh, he's not good because his year was bad. I'm just saying, like, the sample size you got from him was not very good.
No.
And if I gave any Duck fan the choice between Dante Moore and Riley Leonard, I'm not sure that's a contest.
No.
You
would
take Riley Leonard and you figure out either the recruit or the prospect you have to bring in after Riley Leonard leaves to the NFL, which will probably be after next season. I was a little surprised he was staying in college. I think he's eligible to go to the draft.
I think it's because he was banged up a little bit this year. It's a deep quarterback class. He wants to put a little bit more on film to up his stock.
And these guys make enough money where it's like, it's the equivalent to being paid as an NFL rookie.
Sure.
I can play in college. Let me live that. Like, Bo Nix is a professional quarterback. They said that at the Oregon State game. He basically has no school.
No, he's graduated.
He probably, he has his sleep schedule. He wakes up. It's tape, eat, tape, workout, tape. Like, that's all he does.
Yes, he's in coaches' meetings every week.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, come on. He's a pro quarterback in college.
Yes, he is.
That's what Riley Leonard would be.
Yeah.
And Riley Leonard was really good before he got hurt with Duke this year. So, I don't know. We're getting ahead of ourselves because we still have a Pac-12 title game, and we'll dive into that next.
This stuff's looming, though, man. The portal's official. You can start signing guys if
Monday.
your coach didn't leave on Monday. So next week, no matter what happens tonight, is going to be chaotic. And this is the fun part about college football. You're always focused on the now. Huge game tonight, huge stakes, all of that. But you always have an eye to the future because your roster's overturning every year.
Final Pac-12 title game, final Pac-12 game. Let's talk about it. Washington, Oregon, 10-point gap. What say you? Bo Nix on the Heisman race. And something to bring back that was heard yesterday on this show. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
Wesley you're doing it wrong. Heat Check with Trista Crick on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. This time, it's all on the line.
Snap and hand it off. There goes James to the right side. Going to drive hard. Going to get into the end zone. Touchdown, Oregon. Get out of my way. Effort. Jordan James.
This is a Pac-12 Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
I wasn't that long ago before a lot of people told us, hey, we don't control our own destiny anymore. I think maybe we just do.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080. The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2, Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan, the Odyssey app, 99.5 HD2, and YouTube.com/1080 The Fan. If you missed the first hour, a ton of Trailblazer conversation. You can always catch it at the Service Patriot Podcast, 1080thevan.com. Check out the latest special offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. And the Vancouver Ford text line is 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them for more info at vancouverford.com. We will Sprague the line at 8:30. I got a fun game I'm playing. I did more work than I've ever done in Sprague and Line history this year, and I was sub 500. So last week I just looked at the games in the moment and picked them, and I went 3-0.
You go on your gut, man. That's what you got to do.
We're riding that heater today.
Trust your gut.
I have an idea of what the lines are, but I don't know what I'm going to pick. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes for me. 3-0 would get me over 500 for the first time.
You're creeping up there. You're sniffing it.
Oh, I would die. We don't have a guest today because there's a lot to talk about. We're the only show on the Fan. And we have a Pac-12 title game tonight.
That we do, Bob.
Oregon versus Washington. Last Pac-12 title championship game. And last Pac-12 game. This is it, man.
We're turning out the lights at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Whenever that game's over, the lights are going out. George Kliavkov's going to be out there with his weird goatee, handing out a trophy, getting booed by everybody. And it's going to be a very strange feeling. I had it last Saturday night. I watched the entire, don't ask me why, but I watched the entire UCLA-Cal game because it was the last regular season Pac-12 game. And it was Brock Osweiler yelling at me and Dave Fleming, basically insinuating that everybody's landing in a different conference without mentioning Oregon State and Washington State, which is really weird. Like, hey, don't look at these two teams in the corner. So I watched that whole thing. It's going to be really sad when it's officially over tonight and the conference basically dies.
Yeah, I didn't feel anything last week, and I didn't watch the whole UCLA-Cal game, but I watched a good amount of it. I didn't feel anything. And maybe I'm the weird one here. Odds are that I am, but I don't think I'm going to feel anything tonight either. It could be bookend by Oregon winning the first Pac-12 title championship and Oregon winning the last Pac-12 title championship.
I believe they have more appearances and wins than anybody, and they could add to that list tonight.
It's not even a controversial take. It's the Pac-12 is going to end, and it was the conference of Oregon.
Yeah.
It's point blank.
7 or 8 appearances, and I think 4 wins coming into tonight. They're 4-1.
4-1, I believe. Yeah, they lost to Utah 2 years ago. I don't believe they lost another one. I'd have to go back and
Did
look.
Stanford win 1 or 2 in
Stanford
that run?
won 2.
Stanford won 2.
So you got Stanford and Utah with 2. There's nobody else. I think Washington has 1.
Washington, the year they went to the college
They have
football
2.
playoff.
Washington has 2. They had the playoff year, and then they had a Rose Bowl year.
USC got 1.
USC got 1.
Oh, I forgot about the Rose Bowl year.
Yeah, they lost to Ohio State in the Rose Bowl.
So Utah, UW, Stanford, and that's it, really.
Basically it,
Of multi-winners in the conference.
Somebody, I did see a pretty funny tweet yesterday about Utah. This is the first time, I believe, in 6 years that Utah will not appear in the Pac-12 title game. The tweet was basically like those nerds from Salt Lake City had a stranglehold on the conference, and they finally relinquished it in the final year. This is the most Pac-12 way of all time to go out, though. This is how you go out guns a-blazing. We've been an irrelevant conference basically since 2016. We've had a couple of teams that sniffed the playoff, but nobody that was a real game changer or had a chance to make any noise when they got there. And now we go into, you could argue, Alabama, Georgia will always take the cake because it's Alabama and Georgia. This is easily the second best conference championship game. For some people, it is the best. Just from an entertainment standpoint, you have a chance to put a team in the playoff. You have a chance to win a Heisman Trophy. You have a chance to compete for a national title. Great timing, Pac-12. Great timing. If maybe we figured this out in 2018, we wouldn't be in this position.
It's a quarterback matchup for sure, too. Michael Penix, who is basically lost all his Heisman, enthusiasm nationally. He has slipped in the odds. It's basically down to Daniels and Nix. And if Nix has a good night, Nix will wrap that up. There is not a debate anymore. It is over. They will all get invited to New York. They'll try to act like they don't know who's going to win. The suspense. Who's going to win it? Find out next. And they're going to do that for like 5 commercial breaks. And ultimately, it's going to end with Bo Nix at the stage holding up that trophy if he has a really good game tonight. Hell, he could have a mediocre game. And if they win, it's his. He's already the favorite. Here was Dan Lanning on with Isaac and Suk on Wednesday. Was asked about Check Down Charlie, old Bo Nix, who has a reputation for some to be mainly a check down guy and maybe not quite having the season Jaden Daniels have. Here's what Dan Lanning had to say about that.
The guy is the best player in the nation right now, and he's thrown 2 interceptions, and one of them bounced off the face of a wideout. I think when he's throwing the ball downfield, I mean, I'm not a stat guy, but like apparently I need to start paying attention to him because when he's throwing the ball down the field, I think he has one of the highest QBRs of anybody else in the nation. He's like 95% efficiency on shots down the field. We're winning at a really high level. We're the best offense in the nation right now. He's the number 1 passer in the nation right now. So like pick your stat you want, but like, hey, because your quarterback doesn't throw in the double coverage and he's able to hit Bucky Irving in the flat, like give me that guy. That's a winner. It's easy to try to nitpick, but you know, you're talking about a team that's had a lot of success, and I don't know that success looks remotely the same without the way Bo Nix has played. He's played at an elite level this year, and anybody that doesn't recognize that hasn't watched him play.
Dirt, can everybody be right on this topic? Because I've noticed the social media world, it's become kind of volatile, and it's just like, let me downgrade this guy, let me downgrade that guy. And while we've had this conversation a couple times this year, and you know my position on it, I've also acknowledged it's his. Yeah, I think he's wrapped it up. I do, because I think Oregon's going to win tonight. I don't know the margin, but I think Oregon's going to win. His game will be fine. He doesn't commit turnovers. He's not that player. I think it's his. But I feel like all of these things that people cite they're all true. Jaden Daniels has had historically a season you just haven't seen. Bo Nix, the completions, the percentage, the interceptions, the record, like I don't know. We're nitpicking these guys. Like LSU sent out a tweet with Nix's name in it yesterday, which was a little odd, and just comping some stats that they had between him and Daniels. And I don't know. I kind of find all the criticisms, I think it's fair to point things out that you observe. I think criticizing both, though, like, Nix shouldn't even be in the conversation. I've not had that position. That's ridiculous. If you think Daniels is the best player, that's fine, too. I don't think you need to go, well, he's got 3 losses. He didn't control all those losses. He got knocked out of one of those games with a concussion. So I just find the discourse odd, and I can't wait for this to kind of be over. Yeah, it has. I mean, we've had the kind of ugly discourse, I think, around the Heisman. I agree with you completely on the Daniels thing. Jaden Daniels has had an unbelievable season, man. When you look at guys with 3,600 passing yards and 1,000 rushing yards, it's only been done by like 5 or 6 guys in the history of the sport. I think the argument for Oregon fan all along has been, one, and I've brought this up before, if Jaden Daniels is doing this at Arizona State, is he where he's at in the Heisman race? Because I don't think that he is. I think the conference that he's playing in has a lot to do with the determination that he's getting. If he's at ASU, they're 9-3. And he has this same stats? This same. You don't think he's here? I'm not saying he's not a finalist. I don't think there's this strong push to make him a Heisman Trophy winner. I just genuinely don't. We didn't do this with Christian McCaffrey across the country when he had better numbers across the board than Derrick Henry, but he didn't win the Heisman. Why didn't he win the Heisman? Because he played in the Pac-12. His games were on at 10 o'clock at night, and nobody east of the Mississippi ever watched him play outside of when they finally made the Rose Bowl, and he ran all over Iowa. And everybody's like, McCaffrey guy's pretty good. Maybe we shouldn't have put his games at 7:30 on the Pac-12 network. That's been my only pushback. Like, if you flip the schools or you flip the conferences, I don't think this is even a debate. If there's a quarterback in the SEC that put up these numbers and his team was a one-loss team going to the potentially college football playoff with a win tonight, because Bo has to win tonight to win the award, I don't think it's even a debate over who wins the Heisman. So it's a conference bias thing. That's what bothers me. I also do just chuckle, though, at how we nitpick stats to criticize guys. Like, this check down thing for Bo Nix is honestly one of the dumbest things I have ever heard. He throws a lot of underneath routes. You know why? They're open. They're efficient. He's completing nearly 80% of his passes. He has only thrown 2 interceptions all year, as Lanning pointing out. One of them bounced off a wide receiver's face mask. There was a stat that came out 2 weeks ago, I believe it was from Pro Football Focus, that they tracked literally every throw that he had made all season. All season long, he had thrown 3 turnover-worthy balls. He had one in the Civil War, and I remember Brock
He had
going,
one.
"Oh,
Like,
that was a bad throw."
He threw into Troy Franklin, and the safety came over and kind of collided. And if the safety had turned, that was probably his 4th on the season.
Yeah.
He has attempted 401 passes.
Yeah.
I don't care how good you are. I don't care how good the talent around you is. To only throw 4 or 5 balls all year that could even be intercepted is remarkable. And one of his interceptions was not a turnover-worthy throw. It hit the dude in the face mask, and Tez Johnson popped it up as a volleyball player. This is becoming kind of a rallying cry for me. Like, I know the whole nobody's giving Oregon a chance thing is dumb, and obviously they're a 10-point favorite tonight. I'm like transitioning that into the Bo Nix thing. I mentioned the Vegas interview that I did the other day, where I defended your Oregon State Beavers.
Yeah.
They asked me legitimately in that interview, one of the hosts said, now don't get upset. I'm going to ask you, is Bo Nix really that good? And my response
You
was,
should have been like, have you been watching college football?
so what do you mean? Is he that good? He leads the nation in passing yards. He has 37 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He has 6 rushing touchdowns. Like, what do you mean? Is he like in terms of an NFL prospect? I don't know. Nobody knows. I have no clue how he's going to be at the next level. Is he that good? He's completing 80% of his passes. There's this notion that just because they throw the ball underneath and because Oregon has weapons, that any quarterback in the country could do this. Somebody had a tweet that said Daniels, if it was off LSU, they'd be 6-6, and if Oregon didn't have Bo Nix, they'd still be 10-1. I don't know what bizarre world we're living in. Bo Nix early in the season, I think I sided with your opinion more, that there were times where you watched him and it didn't scream best player in the nation. It didn't scream Heisman Trophy.
Mm-hmm.
They were a good team. They were winning games, but he was throwing for 247 or 276 or 290.
I thought early that, especially early when we got into this conversation, I was one of those check down Charlie. It doesn't have to be a negative.
Sure.
It's the Alex Smith game manager thing. It somehow offends people to say it. I did early on. And even last night, I watched the Pac-12 Network with the Oregon State game, basketball game. The Civil War replayed right after. And I look up the screen. I'm doing dishes. Check down, touchdown to Bucky Irving. Gets in the end zone. And I'm like, check down. Next possession, he throws it like 18 yards right to the middle field, exactly where you need to place the ball. People aren't allowing their opinions to evolve. It's like when you have a take or an opinion, a lot of people think you gotta dig your heels in on every one instead of going, I might have been a little wrong on this. Like, there's more nuance to it, especially early.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's wrong. Sorry, I just have one last point. I don't even know if it's wrong. I think Bo Nix has elevated his game in the last 4 to 5 weeks to this conversation. Like, I think you were kind of spot on early in the year, and I agreed with you. Starting with the Utah game, and he didn't even finish that game.
No.
Which is remarkable for the numbers he's put up. Hasn't played like 5 fourth quarters this year. Starting in the Utah game, he has been on a roll where he has been the focal point of the offense. Him throwing the football he has multiple 400-yard games. He's only thrown 1 pick, and it hit off a wide receiver's face mask. Like, he has been a different player in November.
There's 2 things I would say. So go watch the first half of the Arizona State game. I know Arizona State's not great, but go watch the first half of that game. That was insane. Second, I would say go watch the final touchdown drive of the first half against Oregon State. They went the length of the field in 40 seconds.
Is there any world for you guys where Washington wins this game tonight and Penix throws for 3 touchdowns, 300 and, plus yards, no interceptions, they win? Is there a world where he could come back in this conversation and win this award? Because the way the analysts are talking about this nationally, Swag, it really feels like it's Nix and Daniels, and Nix basically has this thing wrapped up.
I don't think there's anything that he could do tonight.
So you think let's say Penix throws for 330, 2 tuds, no picks, and they win.
It'll go to Jaden Daniels.
You think Daniels so Penix is done to you, like done.
Dude, you can't have a game without an offensive touchdown against Arizona State. I know the Oregon State game wasn't his fault. We talked about it. I thought he played really well in that game, but numbers matter, and he threw for 162 yards. In their last game, he barely threw for 200 yards and had a pick. He attempted to throw the game away multiple times on that last drive. Statistically speaking, he has not been the same guy. If Penix and Nix, I almost feel like are inverse. Now, the turnovers haven't been there for Nix, but Penix in his first 5 or 6 games was an unstoppable machine, throwing 4 or 5 touchdowns a game, 400 yards a game. Like, that was one of the best passing attacks that we have ever seen. The last 6-7 weeks, that has not been the case.
Let's talk about that, because we had a guest yesterday that I asked him about Michael Penix and what he's been lately, and he had an interesting answer that I thought was really good. So we're going to bring that back coming up next, and the Oregon defensive line and secondary challenges against Washington tonight. We'll get to that next. Dirt and Sprague on The Fan.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080, The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Dirt and Sprague with you. Pac-12 title game. Sprague and Line coming up. Other conference championship games that we'll run through real quick. I have a play to go to tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Oh, no.
What?
I mean, I feel bad for you, but I know it's my future.
What's the game after Bama, Georgia? Is it Michigan, Iowa?
Michigan, Iowa, and then Florida State, Louisville are your 2 night games at 5 o'clock.
So I'll probably watch the beginning of Georgia, Bama, and then midway through the beginning of that game, I'm going to have to go to a play.
Big 12 title games at like 9 in the morning.
That's the early one.
So I'll catch that one. I'll catch the beginning of Bama, Georgia, and then I'll have to DVR the rest.
I forget where the Mountain West titles are won.
They're in Las Vegas.
Yeah, they gotta do a quick changeover on the field there because UNLV gets to host it.
Wake me when Oregon State's in that championship game.
Next year.
They're not eligible next year, you douche. Why don't you read?
Just wanted to note that Swigart said that, not me. I'm a Beaver fan now.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I'll make sure that onesie gets to you tomorrow. You mentioned Penix here. I'm just running through. So 450, 409, 473, 304, 363. Those were the yards that he threw through the air. And then he faced Oregon. And that last drive got him over 300 by 2 yards, 302.
Mm-hmm.
After that, 275, 369, 256, 332, 162, 204.
Essentially playing the same schedules if you look at touchdown to interception ratio. Penix since that game is at 16-6. And Bo Nix is at 20-1. And the one was a ball that hit off a face mask.
Yes. So Penix is clearly, I don't know what it is. I've been wondering if he was hurt. We had Chris Fetters on yesterday of dogman.com. Sounds like a Washington fan loves him. And Chris Fetters, I asked him, is he hurt or what's happening? And Chris Fetters had this to say.
If Michael Penix was truly hurt, he wouldn't be dealing with the media every single week. They wouldn't, first of all, post-game, they wouldn't allow him to talk if he was actually that injured. And so there's that. And then just the other thing is that if he is hurt or if he is, to me, there's a difference. And you guys may think this is a distinction without a difference, but I see it differently. I think there's a difference between someone who thinks that Michael Penix Jr. is hurt as opposed to just not being right. And I think that there are things that you can point to where you look at him and it's like, okay, the accuracy numbers have gone down about 2 or 3% every single month on month from September, for instance. And you look at something, because if you look at things like velocity and if you look at things like that, there's nothing wrong with Michael Penix in terms of throwing. In fact, if anything, you could claim that pretty much he hasn't thrown the ball with as much touch maybe as we saw in September. I've seen a lot of fastballs, and I think a lot of it is based on the fact that maybe he feels like he's not recognizing things as quickly or playing with as much anticipation as he was early on and really finding that groove with his receivers, and that just that split-second delay is putting in his mind, I got to get this in fast because I'm late.
Dirt, I thought that was a really interesting and good answer because I've been wondering if he's hurt. And then he comes to basically say, I don't think he's hurt, but he's not right. Look, Washington's 12-0. It seems ridiculous to say this, but I noted during the Washington State game, Brock Heward and Benetti on the call of that one. Yeah. The report out of that game was that Washington State had picked up their signals.
Yeah, Ryan Grubb mentioned that on Monday at his press conference. He said they figured it out at halftime that Wazoo knew what they were doing.
So, and look, I mean, no disrespect by this. I think Kalen DeBoer has been awesome. He's, I don't know how many games he's won in a row at this point, 19 or 20. They're undefeated going into this title game. Is there a shot defenses have kind of figured this out a little bit? Like Odunze's just throw it up to Odunze. I can't blame Penix at all when he does that play. I saw it in person twice, touchdown. But Polk's been a little off. Johnson's kind of dealing with some nagging ankle stuff. I think his pass protection's been fine, but like when you tell me he's throwing it harder and quicker and maybe struggling to read, I'm wondering if defenses have figured this out a little bit. Not in the we stopped them all the way we won, but ASU, Utah, Oregon State, Washington State, tough games, didn't play well. I'm just kind of wondering if their stuff has been so exposed with not a great run game that defenses are changing looks, because I don't know else why he would be feeling that way that Fetters explains.
Yeah, I kind of come down on this as like everything is true. Like I think to say that Penix is at 100% is not factual. Like he's clearly going through something. Now, to what severity, nobody knows other than Michael Penix and the doctors at Washington. But you can't tell me based on what we've seen in the second half of the year, the way he's grimaced at times, the reaction after certain games, that he's not dealing with something. His completion percentage, 4 of his last 5 games, is sub 60%.
46 at Oregon State, 54 against Washington State, 57 against Utah, 56 against Stanford, and 59 against Oregon. Those are NFL numbers. He's benched.
And the Oregon State one's the one you say, all right, it was in a tsunami, whatever. You're not going to complete a ton of balls in a game like that. That's fine. I know it rained a little bit in the Utah game, and it was probably cold for the Apple Cup. I can't remember if it rained a lot. But you can't just chalk that up to being bad weather. Quarterbacks have to play in bad weather in the Pacific Northwest. There's clearly something wrong, but I think it can be a collection of all of them. Maybe it's something that teams have figured out their signals a little bit. I do think not having McMillan on the outside as the season has gone on, a legitimate number 2 option. They've had some other wide receivers in and out of the lineup. That problem will get solved for them tonight. But I think the biggest thing that I see when he says, is he off? The way that I view that just through a quarterback lens is that you're throwing the football quick because you don't want to get hit. And that maybe the timing isn't there in the passing game because you realize, all right, here comes a free rusher, or, okay, the protection around me is breaking down. He has not been sacked a lot. I think Penix and Nix are the 2 lowest sack numbers in the entire country. Penix is like 8 and Nix is like 5. But it tells me a little bit that you're not as comfortable standing in there, waiting that extra second maybe for the route to get open, taking the hit and delivering the football the way that maybe he was early in the season, in which if you didn't hit him or if you didn't get pressure on him, he was just going to absolutely torch you. Even if you did, he would still find a way to torch you. So I think all of this can be true. I don't think Michael Penix is at 100%. I think anybody who argues that is not arguing in good faith. Now, what percentage is he at? Nobody's going to know, man. Maybe we'll find out after the game. Maybe we'll find out in the weeks ahead. But he's clearly not at 100%, but he will have 100% of the compliments of his wide receivers for the first time in a long time tonight. And that, to me, is the fascinating part about a 10-point spread, in that Oregon's weakness is their secondary. Oregon's weakness as a defense is teams have had the ability to throw the ball on them. Here comes Penix and all his wide receivers, and we'll see if they can do it tonight.
We'll Sprague line at 8:30. We'll get to some of the other conference championship games. We still got to do our Pac-12 picks against the spread. I pluralized that.
You got to do the pick against the spread.
Pac-12 pick against the spread. It's the final one for us.
Well, we'll do bowl games too. Don't worry. We'll do bowl games. Got to do bowl games.
Are we going to be here for the bowl?
I mean, we'll pick them. They'll be announced like next week.
The first bowl games are the 16th or 17th. There's a couple of Pac-12 games.
We'll just do it next week. We'll just pick them next week.
Jimmy Kimmel Bowl and something else.
It's the Rob Gronkowski Bowl now.
It is?
Yeah. Jimmy only bought like a 2-year.
Didn't the Riders strike kind of curtailed the cash flow?
They did not want to keep spending money on a bowl game because, as we know, bowl games are worthless. I mean,
I remember that Oregon State Utah State one. There was like 15 people there, and he's doing an interview at halftime. I'm like, this is weird. Yeah. Nobody cares. What are we doing?
But I want to stick on this game. What we're overlooking for Washington, the undefeated team who won this contest the last time they played, what they need to do to win this game again, and an area that we're kind of focused on going into this matchup is it's going to happen tonight. We'll talk about it. Oregon, Washington, the third matchup between the two for the final Pac-12 championship. All of that ahead. Dirt and Sprague back with more, but for Swag with the Sports Update.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by X Golf. It's indoor golf season. Check out X Golf in Vancouver, Tualatin, the home of indoor golf, online at xgolfpnw.com. First on The Fan. The winner of the final Pac-12 championship game all but assured a spot in the college football playoff field. A rematch between the Ducks and Huskies from Vegas. Kickoff 5 o'clock tonight right here on The Fan. Live pregame coverage will begin at 1. Oregon has grown to a 10-point favorite at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. Seahawks gave the Cowboys all they could handle and then some in Dallas Thursday night, but they come up just short, losing 41-35 despite Geno Smith throwing for 3 touchdowns, running for another one. Trailblazers outscoring the Cavaliers 63-49 in the second half. That had the home crowd booing Spider Mitchell as Portland picks up their 3rd win in their last 4 games, 103-95. Shaedon Sharpe led the way with 29 points and 10 boards. Road trip continues Saturday night in Utah against the Jazz. College hoops tonight over on 910 ESPN Portland. The Pilots welcoming the Wyoming Cowboys to the Chiles Center. 6 o'clock tip. Pregame coverage begins at 5:30. Portland currently 2.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories. 30 minutes. Jason Swigard from Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at Spirit Mountain Casino with a sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
It's The Fan on FM. Go to 99.5 FM HD2 and enjoy high def 1080 The Fan.
Television sales on Black Friday set new records as millions of Americans snapped up the hot deals. But a lot of people were out of town or too busy to take advantage of the special pricing. So, how about a redo? Right now, you've got a second chance to save big on many of the top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs. Where? At Video Only, where the smart shoppers go. So, don't miss out. Check out Video Only now, or
You'll be sorry.
Colder weather is here, and so is cold and flu season. That means it's the perfect time to bring your kids in for a well-child visit. It's a checkup to make sure their development is on track and their immunizations are up to date. And while you're at it, schedule their annual teeth cleaning too. Dental care is an essential part of your kids' overall health. Find easy tips to stay healthy at careoregon.org/kids.
I can't wait for what's next. Even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, the Pixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist-prescribed blood thinner.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and, in rare cases, fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Have a special somebody on your shopping list that loves to golf? Then you'll love Red Tail Golf Center's annual
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
A text at the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. This is the first time all season that UW will have their top 5 receivers on the field. Jalen McMillan is healthy. Giles Jackson has preserved his red shirt, so he's going to play tonight as well. That could be a big factor. No doubt, man. It's funny that all week long, the majority of the conversation is centered around 2 things. The point spread, 10. Wow, everybody's like, oh, my God, that's a big spread. Washington won the first game. And is Michael Penix healthy? I mean, those have been like the 2 dominating headlines all week long of this game. And it's funny that when I look at it, I almost look to something completely different, and it was kind of a talking point going into the first game. Is Washington going to be able to get consistent stops against Oregon, or will they be able to get timely stops like they did in the first game? To me, that's the story of it. Like, if Oregon scores 40 tonight, I have a hard time seeing them losing the game. I just do. I trust Oregon's defense to a certain modicum level of like, all right, you're going to get a stop here or there. You're better in every metric than Washington's defense this year. But that was the story of the first game, right? It was that Oregon moved the ball at will basically throughout. They got inside the 10-yard line twice, and they came away with no points. Will Washington's defense be able to come up with stops to give that healthy offense enough chances to go win the game?
They're a timely defense.
Yes, they are.
They are not a good defense. They're a timely defense. They tend to play to moments and opponents. And when I watched that Apple Cup, for example, they did it in that game too.
A couple of big interceptions.
And I just, what's difficult about them is you can't use an actual data measurement on them.
You can't quantify it in numbers. Their pass defense is 9th in the conference.
Their defense is middle of the road to not good. Like it's not an elite defense, and yet I'm kind of seeing, at least I feel like I've seen lately, their pass rush is they're getting home more. I feel like I just feel like their run game and defensive pass rush have been better lately, even though some of these games have been really closely contested. I thought you were going to say simply how, not that every Duck fan is doing it. I'd probably be more responsible on this show of leading the charge. It is a largely heavy Ducks. Oh, if the Ducks win this game, what's going to happen after this? And to a certain extent, if you would have told Sunday me that, I mean, I literally talked to my cousin about this, who's a UW fan. I was like, what did you think about the spread? And he's like, I saw it. It's a big number. And I'm like, I know. It's a lot of points for a tough team. And then by Tuesday, I'm like, Oregon's going to roll.
You get there mentally.
Well, just because I'm trying to – what's hard about this is when Washington won the game in Seattle and won last year in Eugene, obviously the injury didn't help in Bo being out for that 4th down play. But the one in Seattle, I kept watching an Oregon team run for 6 to 7 yards a clip, and then 4th and short, and we're throwing the football. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, not that Bo can't win you the game. Bo could very well make the play tonight, but it's like you're gashing this team a certain way. Why not just ride that out? And they didn't come up with those first downs or those scores. And so, like, I can't explain it. But Washington has found a way. And I do feel like largely this week, I've guilty as charged here, it's been more like, what does Oregon got to do to lose? Or how much is Oregon going to win this game by? I don't blame Husky fan for hearing the station and going, oh, here come these guys again. Washington certainly had a great year, but because of the way they've played at the back end of the schedule post that last meeting, I'm kind of with you. Like, they scored 33 in that game in Seattle, and I feel like their offense has been better.
I mean, they had 600 yards of offense, and that's 33 with 2 possessions inside the 10-yard line coming away with no points.
It's hard for me to see them scoring less than 40.
Yep.
But again, maybe we've had different points of the season where we've said, like, Utah had 28 at the half, and I would have thought, oh, they're going to score over 40.
And they shut them out in the second half.
And they did exactly what they've done. They came up with the stops when they needed to and how they needed to. So Washington kind of doesn't make sense. We noted earlier this week, they technically fall into the luckiest teams in college football category. And that's not meant as a slight. It's just data.
It's just a fact, yeah.
And we'll see if that luck continues to ride out tonight.
Yeah, it's funny because there's a lot of folks who have kind of gone there mentally that they're going to win. Oregon's going to win this game and they're going to win it going away. I'm not there. And I think the main reason I'm not there is because I have felt that way the last 2 times Oregon has played Washington. I felt like going into that game last year, they were the better team and they got them at Autzen. I was incredibly confident going into it, and what happened? Yeah, Nick's getting hurt had an impact on it, but their defense couldn't come up with a stop to save their lives. And then this year, you looked at all the metrics even going into that game. Defensively, Oregon was better than Washington across the board. Now, Penix was firing on all cylinders, so at least Washington had that going for them. But we had very similar conversations going into that game where Oregon's more balanced. They run the ball better. Their defense is better. Oregon appears to be the better team, but maybe Washington's throwing the ball a little bit better. And what happened? Washington won the game again. And so I'm just trying to make sure mentally that I'm not making the same mistake again, because it feels like that has been the last 2 Oregon-Washington games for Duck fans where you've just gone in and said they're going to win. And then you look up in the fourth quarter and Washington's defense makes a play and they find a way to win the game. You miss a kick. Like, this is a team, when you go 12-0, a lot of it is luck, but they have had an incredible season this year. And I think counting out a team in a conference championship game is a little foolish. Now, maybe we wake up tomorrow or we come in Monday morning and it's, hey, Oregon did exactly what we thought. And, the wheels finally came off the wagon for Washington. But until I see one of those things happen, it's just hard for me to envision it.
I mean, you go through some of the stats here, like passing defense, they're 9th, right? You go through rushing.
Oregon's number 1.
Oregon is number 1. They're 8th in rush defense.
Oregon's number 2.
I don't really care about total defense. Lanning said that earlier this year. I'm totally with him. It's yards. How much of those are garbage yards? But like opponent 4th down conversion, that's a sneaky stat that you're not always thinking about, but you might be thinking about in this matchup for obvious reasons.
Their defense has been really good on 4th down.
Washington's 3rd in the conference. So it's like they time playing well in the moments. It's funny because I'm going through this game in my head. And we all have an idea, and then it's interesting to see how that plays out. Given what I've talked about, I'm trying to play the opposite scenario here. Washington wins. We're in here Monday talking about it. What happened? Well, the one thing that they have that maybe they just have success against Oregon with is Penix doesn't take a whole lot of sacks, and he does get the ball out quickly. With McMillan feeling better, with this new addition, the young player that you said still has eligibility, Polk at some point's got to catch a football. It's been like 3 games. Mm-hmm. And Odunze's, I think, been the best receiver in the nation. Sometimes you just get the ball to the athletes 3 yards out and let them operate in some space. And it's just like dink, dunk, chunk, 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 dink, dunk, chunk, chunk, chunk.
Break a tackle here, break a tackle there.
Yeah, and like before you know it, you're like, Washington's in field goal range or they're scoring a touchdown. You go, like, I know it's just, I don't know. They're a weird team that way. You look at it on paper and you feel good, and then you watch it. Now, the one thing I'll add to this, the reason I hated the last 4th down call the most, even though that wasn't the one anybody seemed to have a problem with, and I totally get it, win the game with that pickup. The reason I didn't like that call was because at that point of that game, his defense finally kind of asserted itself against that Husky offense. Mm-hmm. And you had gotten them off the field in like back-to-back possessions.
I think it was 3 straight. Well, now one of those was a goal line stand, but it was 3 straight drives.
That doesn't matter to me. You got the stops. That's the important thing. And instead of punting and pinning them back and saying, okay, well, if you're going to win the game, you're going to win it marching 80 to 90 yards up, they went for it and then gave them a really short field. And it's like, oh, 2 plays later, Odunze touchdown, we're ahead. And I just didn't like that because I thought the defensive coach would rest on the defense that he finally envisioned happening, and it was. They were getting to Penix a little bit. He was making bad passes. Maybe threw that pick in the second half. I think the defense played really well, and I didn't feel like they trusted him enough. I'd like to see more trust tonight because I thought they played really well in that second half against that unit. And so we get to see, like, if they're at the 50, they're at their own 48. Are they going for it on 4th and 3? Probably, because he's aggressive. And again, analytically might be the play. But if the defense is rolling, I'd like to see a little more trust in it.
Interesting. I do know that if they're inside the 40-yard line, they will go for it every time because they can't make field goals right now. So,
well, I meant their own.
Yes, I know what you're saying. Yeah, at the end of the game, ice the game kind of thing. Totally.
Well, that's the other part. What if this comes down to a 50? Nope. It's like 4th and 15.
Nope.
There's 4 seconds left.
Not going to happen.
You're at the Washington 39-yard line. 46, 47-yard field goal.
I'm just turning the television off, and I'm going to take my dog for a walk.
You have no trust, right? Lanning can't have any trust.
Zero trust. Are you kidding me?
Shanking kicks.
Dude, 0 trust. None at all. Go for it.
The one he missed against Oregon State, I was like, oh, God.
4th and 35. Just throw a Hail Mary. It's got a better chance at this point.
Bo's not turning it over, so maybe it's just meant to be.
I want to read a couple thoughts. We got some coming in on YouTube and the Vancouver Ford text line. We'll get to the other conference championship games in the final hour of the show. Sprague in the line as well. Back after this on the Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
5 seconds to shoot. They dump it into Randall. Turns and faces on Livers. One dribble, step back baseline. It's good. Julius has 29 the day after he turned 29, and the Knicks are up by 9.
That's 98.7 ESPN New York, Knicks radio. Julius Randle and the Knicks come back and beat the Pistons in the fourth quarter. Pistons became the 8th team in NBA history to go 0-15 or worse in a calendar month. No wins in November for the old Pistons.
Holy hell, that is bad. Things are bad in Portland, but hey, at least we're not the Detroit Pistons.
Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
Okay. Who's stinking it up? The Detroit Pistons, brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Sorry, I had to get my read. Three Mountains Plumbing makes plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle whatever projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Plumbing. That's threemountainsplumbing.com.
Hey, everybody. Sprague here. Leaves are falling.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
All right, welcome back in.
Can I ask you a really random question?
What do you got, Bob?
Who do you think gets recognized more in the right setting? Desmond Howard or Paul Feinbaum?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because you want to say, I think Desmond Howard, right? MVP of the Super Bowl, Heisman guy at Michigan.
Horrible takes on game day.
But
No.
that was a long time ago.
Long
I was
time ago.
9 years
It's
old
Feinbaum.
when they won the Super Bowl.
Feinbaum's more recognizable.
See, now
Than
here,
Desmond Howard?
the only
Yeah.
counter argument to that is that Howard has some commercials.
He also has a pretty, like, I know there's multiple afros in America, but his afro's pretty, it's pretty perfect. It's not,
It is.
it's not high, it's not low. It's like that perfect, it's just crafted perfectly.
Can't wait to see what kind of dumb stuff he's going to say.
Well, he's on TV right now. To imagine
Oh, is
it's pretty bad.
He's ranting and raving about how Michigan should be in, whether they win or lose to Iowa. Iowa's great. I mean, their defense is top notch. Whether they win or lose this weekend, how is Michigan out of the college football playoff?
I think last week when his coworker was facing death threats for just doing his job, and he basically called him out for it. I'm like all the way out on Desmond Howard.
Yeah, all the way out on that. A lot of people have gotten fired at ESPN, and that's one of those I look at. I'm like, he held on to that one, huh? Still paying that guy? Okay. Not really sure what you get out of that.
I think we talked about that on Monday or Tuesday. I'd like to retract my David Pollock quotes.
How's that looking for you there, Bob?
I'm canceling that opinion.
You're going back on that one?
Well, it's like all the things to worry about in your life.
I'll
What are
say,
you doing?
like, one last thing. Like, we had somebody commented on the YouTube stream. Why are sports radio guys in 2023 trying to play it safe and make sure if they pick one, you have to say the other one has a chance at winning too, because both teams have a chance at winning the game. Like, nobody knows what the hell's going to happen tonight.
Play it safe. I'm not playing it safe. I think a 12-0 team
And we're
against
gonna
an
pick the
11-1 team that's been separated by 3 points, but one's now a 10-point favorite. I don't know, man. It's pretty fair to kind of wonder, hey, is the 12-0 team being disrespected, or is the 11-1 team going to absolutely roll them? Both their games have been decided by a field goal.
And to the person who texted in, it's almost as if no one's giving Washington a ... How dare you? How dare you?
A lot of validity to
Steal my thunder. How dare you?
There's a lot of validity to that.
I will say, I think one aspect of it too, offensively, we focus a lot on Penix and how healthy he is, and the wide receivers are back and all that. I think another untalked about aspect of this game, I said it in the last segment, I think if Oregon scores 40, they win. You pull this for Monday. I have a really hard time seeing Washington outscoring Oregon if they get to that 40-point number. I believe Kalen DeBoer is undefeated in his career when he's held teams below 40. I think Fetters gave us that stat yesterday.
Yeah, that was a random number, but he said, yeah.
You get to 40, like that to me is my benchmark, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you come out, you're firing, you make Washington play from behind, you can allow your pass rushers to get after Penix a little bit. I just think that advantage goes to Oregon. Another aspect of it, and we talked about this a lot the week after the first time they played, I thought Dylan Johnson was the underrated MVP of that game. And it wasn't like, oh my God, he ran for 280 yards like he did against USC, but it was 100 yards. It was 5 yards a carry. And I went back and watched the game this weekend, and it just was just enough to pull safeties up, just enough to make Oregon pay attention to it. Of all the injuries that we've talked about with Penix and the wide receivers and all that, Dylan Johnson has been incredibly banged up in the latter stages of the season. His health and where he is at on a short week, to me, is a super important factor for Washington tonight, because they're not going to torch Oregon on the ground. Oregon's run defense is good, but they were able to just give them little paper cuts throughout the course of the game. 5 yards. Now it's 2nd and 5, and then you're okay. What are they going to do here? Are they throwing the ball or are they running the ball? You have the entire playbook at your disposal. When Washington tries to have those first down runs and tries to establish that, which won't be a ton, but when they do, if Oregon can bottle it up and have those, instead of being 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 6, be 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11. I mean, that's a massive storyline for me, and I don't know health-wise where Dylan Johnson is at right now.
Well, it sounds like it's actually more legit than the Penix stuff to Fetters.
Yes.
I would imagine he's not going to feel his leg tonight to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're going to have some numb legs out there.
You catch what I'm saying?
I'm catching what you're saying.
And I think here's the important thing. It's the average for me, right? It wasn't just that he had 100 yards, which was massive for Oregon, and we talked about that after that win. It was the impact he had when he carried. When you're at 5 yards a carry, it's like, okay. We had 2 plays in my middle school 7th grade football team, and I was one of the running backs. I was the second fastest kid on the team. Mm-hmm. And I remember telling my coach, we should pass more, man. This is boring. It's the same plays. He goes, Brandon, we're running for 4 yards a clip. What's 4 times 3? I said 12. Goes, how many yards we need for a first down? 10. shut up and get back there.
Go carry the rock.
And he was right.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's the thing is the amount of pressure you're applying per carry. Like the number at Oregon State, 89 yards. You go, okay, cool, 89 yards. 5.6 yards clip, including that long run that, damn near scored at, but Oladapo made a great play. Last weekend against Washington State, not their best day for an offense. It was a bit of a dogfight, no pun intended. What did he end up with? 4 yards a clip. Like, those are the numbers for me with Dylan Johnson tonight. Oregon's rush defense just proved itself against a very good running team in Oregon State.
They did not allow a run longer than 6 yards.
And my gut instincts would say that Lanning also noted that Johnson had 100 yards in that game, and it was pretty massive for them. So you think they're going to be zero in on it. If his average is in the 4 to 5 range again, that's going to be huge benefit for Washington. And finally on that comment, that comment kind of bothered me, like holy sports radio hosts playing it safe thing. Previewing games, I love that we're talking about all these things and we're talking this out, but I also like doing both sides. Like, what's the perspective from that and that? Because previewing's kind of stupid with football.
I have no clue what's going to happen tonight. Nobody does. If you do, go lay 10 grand on it in Vegas.
You're so confident, drive to A and lay the money. Like, this ain't first take. We're not debating hot takes all day.
Oregon's going to win by 30 points.
When we do the pick against the spread, I'm going to pick Oregon minus the 9.5.
Hey, spoilers. We're going to get to that in the final hour.
Okay.
Come on.
But I'm going to lay the points because I think Oregon has separated themselves. Washington, though, can prove to me again, like every week when I watch the sport, football. You just sometimes can't quantify it. It's freaking football. And this is for a conference championship. This is a hated rivalry. So who the hell knows what's going to happen? I tend to lean Oregon. But I just don't like those comments. This is not first take. It's not Stephen A. screaming at Shannon Sharp. What are we doing here?
I agree with you, Bob. I agree with you. I got 2 last points I want to bring up about this game. We will pick it, our Pac-12 pick against the spread, our last one of the regular season before bowl season begins. We got to get to the other conference championship games. We got to Sprague the line at 8:30. Get your fake sponsors in, 503-864-6326. That's the Vancouver Ford text line. 1 more hour to go on our Football Friday, and it starts next on The Fan.
Television sales on Black Friday set new records as millions of Americans snapped up the hot deals. But a lot of people were out of town or too busy to take advantage of
Streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand. Oregon.
I think this game's 100% on me. I don't think you guys got to look anywhere else besides me.
Washington.
Take it in and understand the place and history of the program and understand what 12-0 really took to get to this point.
This is a Pac-12 Championship Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Online at modspdx.com.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
We faced moments of adversity. Our guys never flinched.
The Fan.
Hey, let's do this. Final hour, Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, YouTube. Shout out to everybody for being with us on a Football Friday. Looks like it's a lovely morning out there. I know the drive-in was just a joy, an absolute blast.
God, the
rain is back, ladies and gentlemen, so it begins.
I vowed to my wife, dog walking is a must no matter the weather this year. My dog is a large dog. He needs to be out.
You got to get him out.
Man, it might have been 7:30 last night, and it finally had stopped raining, but it's freezing, and I'm just like, I hate this. He needs a walk too. I'm not going to walk my dog. God, it sucks to be doing that.
It's that time of year where you're reminded when you have an animal of like, God, I hate this weather. It's the absolute worst. Just even letting my dog out to go to the bathroom this morning, and it was pouring rain, and he comes back to the back door just soaked. I'm like, oh, God, I got to dry him off. That was like a 2-minute pee. That was all it was. And I still got to dry him off.
That Sprague and Line sponsor on YouTube is hilarious, by the way.
Well, I'll make sure to write it down. We will Sprague the Line at 8:30. You can send in your fake sponsors to the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326, or fire them off on YouTube. I have 2 last notes, and then we will pick the game, Pac-12 pick against the spread, unless Swag's taking a poop and he doesn't come back in time. And we'll just get his pick in the next segment.
I think it's his 9th cup of coffee he's going for.
He's going through a lot of coffee. My last request of Oregon tonight, please, for the love of God, whatever you do, can we stop kicking the ball out of bounds? Please.
Underrated play that pisses me off.
Kicking the ball out of bounds. Please. Okay, that's my last request. It drives me nuts.
There is mainly for me, it's a gambling thing, and I know many probably say, oh, what isn't for you? And touche. But when I'm watching NFL games that I've actually laid money on,
you get something like that,
and they're up and they're covering, and then they proceed to kick it out of. I'm like in my living room. Come on, kick it! I'd rather return than kick it out of bounds.
Rather take the risk. Also for Oregon, please don't run a kickoff out tonight. I don't know this off the top of my head, but I'm going to go ahead and trust my gut on this stat. I think Oregon's the worst kick return team in the country. They suck.
The worst kick
They are
return
awful at running, and they try and do it out of the end zone, and they get to the 12-yard line every time.
That's the worst.
It's dude, just fair. You get the ball at the 25 now. There's no point to do it. Just fair catch it. Let it go into the end zone. So please, for the love of God, don't kick it out of bounds and just fair catch your kickoffs.
Is it fair to say you guys, your big weakness is special teams then? Because your kicker's not trustworthy.
See, ironically, our punter's kind of legit, but we just don't punt that often.
Punt very often. I don't know if you punt enough to say he's legit.
He's good, though. He's coffin corner kind of guy, right?
Okay.
He's going to pin you deep, okay? He's going to pin you deep.
But how do you feel about your punt coverage?
I think punt coverage has been pretty good.
Okay.
I think
punt return?
Punt return's been okay,
Oregon's always kind of been traditionally a dangerous team, I feel like, to punt to. You guys just always have a fast player back there.
It's Tez Johnson. My thing with punts now is just catch it. Just fair catch it. I don't want anything to do with those returns.
Don't you get nervous to that split second right before it hits the shoulder pad?
Every time. It's especially when there is the fair catch and there's 2 guys just standing there waiting to gobble up the football. Last one, I want to ask this, and I don't know if you guys have an answer on this. We have been operating one way all season, and I have heard multiple national voices go another way, and I just need some clarification. Is it Odunze or Adunze?
I used to think it was Rome Adunze.
Because we have said Odunze.
Rome Adunze.
It's Adunze.
Okay, because Joel Klatt, I listened to he does a podcast on college football, and he called him, every time he mentioned him, Odunze.
Yeah, it's one of those...
our buddy Pate does it, too, whenever he mentions it.
It's a Southern thing.
Is it? Okay, sure.
Where's Joe Klatt from?
I'm not this. I mean, maybe Southern California, but I don't think he's from the Southeast.
Swag, if anybody on this show is confident with name stuff, it's definitely Jason Swigard, and me and him are lockstep on this. Okay. Odunze.
Just wanted to clarify. He is from Colorado. He's a Colorado guy.
I know he went to Colorado. I just don't know where he's from.
Yeah. Arvada, Colorado.
What would Gus Johnson, I'm surprised he hasn't come up with a nickname for him the way he's trying to repurpose the Mariota nickname for Marvin Harrison.
Maserati
Nobody at Ohio State likes that nickname.
They don't like that one, Maserati? No.
He's been trying that for years. Nobody is remembering the Mariota days.
He was, Maserati Mariota or whatever.
Mariotto. God, I'm all screwed up now. Maserati Mariota.
Easy,
Jeez,
Goodell.
I feel like Goodell right now.
Easy, Goodell. Marcus Mariota.
I'm done.
All right, I'll just move on.
I've been shamed. I've lost confidence. I'm just sitting here not remembering how to say his last name. But he tried that same nickname with him.
A lot of people have jokingly called him Honda McCord, too. I don't know if you've heard that as well, but that's the thing at Ohio State. All right, last but not least for the Pac-12 title game. Let's pick it. Let's see where the line's at right now.
It'd be a funny joke if I didn't just completely throw up all over myself on live radio.
I don't know if we have Vegas Insider up. I'm pulling up ESPN odds, ESPN Bet currently.
I have Vegas Insider up.
Okay.
9.5.
It's 9.5?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. Quickly, here's how we did in our final last week of the regular season. You had a rough one, Sprague. The only game you hit on was Arizona over Arizona State.
Yeah, I think I took a lot of big favorites.
We all three took Utah and whiffed. You took UCLA to cover against Cal.
Oh.
You and I took.
did?
You did.
Are you
yeah.
sure about that?
I am.
What was that spread?
To 11.5, 10.5.
Are you? We need to check the tape on that.
Right. I write them down as the segment goes. You and I took Stanford for some stupid reason.
Well, that was 26.5 points. It's a massive number.
We all three took Washington. That did not happen. And then you obviously took Oregon State and Swag did as well.
I got forced into that.
You were tied down.
If you told me actually to gamble on that game, I would have taken Oregon.
Sure you would have. Hater.
Come on.
Hater.
Puget Sound over there. Agree? Right?
Swag and I went 3-3. You went 1-5. So season standings going into the final game and then the bowl games, I'm 47-32-1. Swag is 42-37-1. And you were 41-38-1.
Ah.
So we got tight ball games coming down the stretch. The line is 9.5. 9.5, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
You know where I'm going. I don't need to give you a reason for it. I already know where Sprague's going. He ruined the whole tease.
Well, we know where Swag's going to.
Where are you going, Swag?
I'm taking the points. Yeah. I think this is going to be a field goal game, and it could be a classic.
Ooh, we're going to get an all-time classic.
I mean, the first two have been classics.
They have. They've been great
games.
games.
Go up and down the field. I think it will be a goofy special teams game, a ill-timed turnover that will decide this late. And I'm disappointed.
Who's going to win?
I think Oregon will ultimately win this time.
You think Oregon's going to hit the field goal?
I think.
Can we stop saying that?
He just said
it's not going to come down to a field goal, guys.
Well, I think it'll be a field goal difference.
Last two games definitely didn't.
I think Oregon will have the ball last and have the clinching drive in whatever.
So it's like a chip shot, right? You get to like the 15-yard
something like that.
line. He can't miss
they
that.
Get in,
What are you going to do if he misses a game-winning field goal?
I'm not going to show up to work on Monday is what I'm going to do.
That's been the one thing in your existence as a Duck fan that's just been
never have a good
your
one.
Kicker sucks. I don't know why.
Never have
a
good
good
one.
It is a Dunze. I'm looking at
it is a Dunze.
Washington pronunciation guide in their game notes.
I just wanted to confirm.
It is a Dunze.
Yeah, just wanted to confirm. Somebody is pointing out that during an Oregon State game this year, they called him Aiden Chili's. So,
that was Brock Osweiler.
Maybe don't trust the broadcasters, I guess.
He also said DJ's name like 9 different ways. And I was like, I thought I was bad.
He always made sure he said the entire name every time, too. Just call him DJ U, man. Make it easier on yourself. You don't need to go full name every time.
Also, how many DJs exist at quarterback? Just say DJ. We know who you're talking about.
It's DJ. That's pretty simple.
Swag, how often do you screw up names on a broadcast? And if you do you find a way to shorten it so you don't put yourself in the predicament?
Well, the difficulty I have right now on the pilots, they have two players from Eastern Europe. One is Vasilia Vucinic, and one is Vukasin Masic.
Vukasin Masic.
Yeah,
those are tough. Those are tough names.
And so in the speed of the game, when you're trying to follow it, and so you try to go. Vucinic is a center. He's 6'11", so he's Big V.
Oh, Big V.
And then Vukasin Masic, his nickname is Vuski. So you go with Vuski and Big V.
You have a Vuski on your team and you haven't told us all year?
Yeah, Vukasin Masic, Vuski.
How about that?
Number 0.
I love it. All right, well, there you go. Any final thoughts on Oregon and Washington before we move on to other things, the other proceedings?
I don't know why you're doing what you're doing right now. You're you're definitely going to go way late for the last segment, and you're going to come back and go, what do we think's going to happen tonight? You're just going to bring this back.
We're wrapped up. It's all over.
I'm actually glad. I'm gonna side with a longtime point of one Dirt Sprague. I'm glad this is being played indoors in Las Vegas, where elements will not figure into this.
Thank you. Nobody wants to see rain.
I
and
got
crappy
two
football.
high-powered offenses.
Yep.
And so yeah, let's go.
Can I tell you, I went to that Oregon State UW game a couple weeks ago. The rain ruins it. It just wasn't.
And that was in the Beavers' bet. I mean, that was helping the Beavs.
It should have helped the Beavs.
Yes, and not enough.
And it makes the game.
Because you kept throwing the football.
Well, yeah, but it makes the game. This has been the opinion. Put a dome on everything.
Dome it up, baby. We're domed up tonight in Vegas. Let's get to the other games because we might have a third stringer involved this weekend. We'll get to that. Alabama, Georgia, the chaotic scenarios. Any chance Texas goes down? We got other conference championship games to get to. We'll get to those coming up next on The Fan.
The Fan.
Shane with a text saying, I'm excited for these conference championship games, but man, the college football season always flies by too fast. Good luck tonight, Dirt. It does, man. Every year this happens. You kind of put your head down. You're like, man, it's week 2, week 3. And you're like, oh, it's December. And now we're in conference championship games. It flies on by. We get other ones tomorrow. So Pac-12 is a standalone game tonight, obviously, as it has been for the final time. The Pac-12 championship game this evening.
No. I think Conference USA.
Nobody cares.
Okay.
Nobody
Really?
cares.
Liberty.
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 They're playing tonight. They are playing New Mexico State at 4 o'clock on the CBS Sports Network.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Maserati, Mariota.
There you go.
Jeez.
You think about it the entire break? There we go.
Thank you.
Ooh, Tiger's got 2 birdies to start his day today. Let's go, Tiger.
plus
Hey,
one.
Here we go. Making a comeback.
Tiger on the prowl.
There is a random report out there, and if you remember, there is a little bit of validity to this because he got hurt late in the game. There are rumors swirling around Florida State that Tate Rodemaker might not be able to play.
Well, he got knocked out of that last game.
He did, and then he came back in. It was one of those like, should you be back in the game right now? Probably not. So there's a lot of rumors out there that they might have to go to their third-string quarterback against Louisville. That line is extremely tight. I will say there's a lot of disaster scenarios. Alabama-Georgia's definitely going to be the best game of the weekend. I hate to do this because it's unfortunate for the season that they've had, and Florida State has been my team all year. The Dirty Poll had Florida State in the top 5 in the preseason. I just want them nowhere near my college football playoff, and I don't want this stupid undefeated conundrum to happen. I am rooting like hell for Louisville tomorrow night.
Really?
Just get them out of there. Settle it. Nobody. There's not a person on the planet that doesn't wear Florida State colors that wants to see Florida State in the college football playoff. Nobody does. And it's okay. You can say they deserve to be there as an undefeated team and disagree with my take.
Not listening.
That's fine. There is not a single person that wants to see them.
Yeah, how's Joe Freeman feel about Florida State right now? Is he like happy? Is he like, it's okay, but I know what it is? Like, I wonder where guys like Joe Freeman are at right now.
I mean, this is like the Ducks in 07. Dixon went down. Your season was done. If they would have found a way to win those games.
Well, but they kept winning, unlike 07.
Well, they've only had one game, and they barely beat a below 500 with a backup quarterback Florida team who has fired half their coaching staff and had half the roster enter the transfer portal. But, hey,
Said like a true hater.
Rivalry games.
Yep.
Get them out of there, dude. Go Louisville. Go Brahmer Bulls.
You're biased.
Get them the hell out of my college football playoff.
You're too biased.
Not my playoff.
You almost got in a fight with a Florida State fan in Carolina.
Hey, who was right on that one? 59-20. People don't forget.
Absolutely biased. There'd be no argument if this was Oregon.
Sure, but I wouldn't have a problem with other people argued it to me. Like, of course, I would be biased.
Yeah.
Dude, if Ty Thompson was starting in the playoff, I would not want them to play Georgia.
Yes, you would.
Why would I want that?
Because the playoff is ultimately the only relevant thing in college football.
So I can watch my team.
Saturday.
No, there's not an any given. I would watch my team lose by 80.
Where did Dan Lanning used to coach? Huh? Riddle me that, Batman.
Between the hedges, maybe?
Oh, what team would he know rather well?
How'd that work out for him last year?
Oh, we're talking about last year or this year? It's a new year. What's the spread right now in the hypothetical world? 1.
Not with Ty Thompson, it's not.
It might be 3. Not a big deal.
All right, you guys are idiots. I want Florida State nowhere near my college football playoff. Alabama and Georgia tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
I am excited for this game and terrified of this game because I think the disaster scenario for the committee is Alabama winning that game. Alabama winning that game throws everything out the window because Texas has the head-to-head win, Georgia would still be in consideration, and Alabama would be a one-loss SEC champion. I think the College Football Playoff Committee is where I'm at on Florida State. They are out on Alabama. They are rooting hard against Alabama winning tomorrow because I genuinely don't know.
It put them in a really uncomfortable position.
Especially if Florida State wins, I genuinely don't know what you do. I don't know what you do. I don't know how you leave Alabama out. They're not going to. If that's the case, I don't know how you leave Texas out because they have a head-to-head win. Oregon's been the highest-ranked one-loss team. If they win, they would have a win over the number 3 team in the country tonight. Good luck figuring out your 4-team playoff if Florida State wins and if Alabama wins.
If Washington loses tonight, are they in the playoff?
No, I don't think they are. I don't think they have a chance in hell.
Don't have a chance in hell.
I think they would take Ohio State over
Interesting.
Washington.
The 3rd team in the country loses 1 game in the conference title game. Not a chance in hell. And I believe you are right on that. The number 1 team in the nation loses their first loss of the season in the conference championship game. Oh, let's move the teams who won their conference title out of the way for them. It's a stupid system, and it's incredibly biased. If Washington doesn't have a chance, if they lose, then Georgia shouldn't have a chance. Spare me with the Sprague. They won 2 titles. They're really good. You really don't need their best 4. That's not all the criteria is. They've used other criteria in this, and if they're asserting that conference championships mean anything, and they use that to get Washington out, I think the same should apply to Georgia to me. If Bama wins, I'm just going to live in a place, and it's probably not going to be a good place because the committee is dumb. I'm going to live in a place where Georgia doesn't make it. You lose to the 8th-ranked team in the conference title game who lost to Texas? What's your argument? Other than we're Georgia. That's not an argument. What's the argument? Game control? Well, you lost the game control battle if you lose to Alabama in the SEC title game. We're not making the same, these aren't the same arguments. That's stupid. If the third team has no shot, that the first team, what's Georgia's best win all year? Is it Tennessee?
Ole Miss and Missouri are both borderline top 10 teams.
Either one. Let's use Missouri. We'll say Missouri is the best win of the season, and that was a good win. But, that's not better than Oregon.
No, Missouri's not better than Oregon.
So what's the argument? I hate living in that world where we're doing this. It's the most terrifying thing. If Bama wins, they both could get. Why?
This is why we need a 12-team playoff, and it's why we've always needed a 12-team playoff. And I've argued this all week. If Washington loses, they have an argument. They're 12-0. They have quality wins.
But they don't really have an argument to your point.
No, they're not going to. They have no chance in hell at making it. But they have an argument, and I can't believe I'm about to say this. I would actually feel a little bad for a Husky fan because they went 12-0.
How would you not?
They're the only team that has to play the team that they already beat. Michigan doesn't have to go beat Ohio State again.
Nope.
They get to play Iowa this weekend, right? Like Florida State gets a Louisville team. They don't have to. I think Clemson's playing better than Louisville later in the season. They don't have to go redeem that one. So
Louisville lost to Pittsburgh
by 17 points at home.
Awful. And then they lost last weekend in their in-state rivalry game
to a 6-5
Kentucky team whose coach reportedly flew all the way to A&M.
Yeah, he was gone.
And then they found out that they hated him, so they rescinded the offer, and he got right back on the bird and flew into Lexington.
So I never wanted to leave anyways. I like it here in Kentucky. Bill Hancock told Heather Dinich this week.
Love me a Hancock.
It is the committee's job to rank the 4 best teams, and that most deserving is not anything in the committee's lexicon.
Oh, yeah.
They are there to rank the best teams in order. That's what they do, so keep that in mind. He is the director of the college football playoff.
Does that make you think they're going to choose Bama and Georgia if Bama wins?
It's the SEC. I'm terrified of this. If Alabama wins by a field goal, you know they're going to try and come up with arguments to get them both into the playoff. It's the SEC.
But just let the argument be this, because I don't want people to hear this and go, oh, Sprague doesn't think Georgia's a top 4 team.
Of course
Absolutely they are.
Yes, of course they are.
We're talking about the resume and what you did when you did it. And if Washington's first and only loss of the year is to Oregon, who they've already beat, tonight it gives them no chance. Same rules should apply for Georgia.
Yeah. Are we expecting anything in Oklahoma State, Texas tomorrow morning? We got anything there? We giving Oklahoma State a chance?
Yeah, I'm not going to dismiss that game as a blowout. If Texas shows up and plays their A game, absolutely can throttle them. Oklahoma State's, again, lucky. But I've kind of been the opposite of what you guys have been talking about. I don't have as much trust in Texas as maybe some. I think they're really good.
It's more about what Oklahoma State team shows up. They're.
I mean, I would imagine the good Oklahoma State team shows up in this game, right?
So.
They play up to Texas and Oklahoma.
How do they follow up Bedlam?
Well, sure, that's a letdown spot. This is what I'm saying is this is not a letdown spot. It's a conference championship game.
But if I tell you they're 4 to 5 wins lucky, like 4 to 5 of those wins have been deemed luck based on their analytics.
Yeah, you can make the same argument for Texas, to your point, though, over the last 2 months of the season.
So it's a 15.5 point spread.
15-point spread.
I actually kind of lean the points just out of the moment and Texas kind of blowing some of these leads the last couple weeks. I know they beat Tech, but yeah, I'm not going to completely dismiss the game. I'll have it on. I probably won't watch every single down because it's the 9 a.m. game and I'll be getting my kids up and moving around. But
yeah, it's the early one tomorrow.
Definitely going to have it on and keeping a really close eye on what's going on in it.
I thought Connolly had a funny tweet here. He said either Texas is going to win by 40 or Oklahoma State's going to win by 1.
That's kind of what it feels like.
It's either Texas,
yes,
Oklahoma State brings it, and they get some calls, a couple of bounces go their way, and you're like, oh my God, Gundy's going to do this. Or you turn it on halfway through the first quarter, and it's like, wow, it's already 17-0.
I can't believe Bill Connolly's playing it safe as a national college football writer. What a jerk.
Can't play it safe, man. All right, let's get to Sprague in the line. Your sponsors are welcome on the YouTube chat and on the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. We'll read them. We'll do some gambling next. First, here's Swag with SportsCenter.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Red Tail Golf Center's annual store-wide holiday sale now through December 24. Details at golfredtail.com. First on The Fan. Pac-12 championship game for the final time pits the Ducks and Huskies in a rematch from their regular season meeting. The winner almost assured a spot in the college football playoff. Kickoff set for 5 o'clock right here on The Fan. Our live pregame coverage will start at 1 p.m. Oregon, a 9.5-point favorite at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sportsbook. Seahawks gave the Cowboys all they could handle and then some in Dallas, but come up just short, losing 41-35. Geno Smith did throw for 335 yards, 3 touchdowns, ran for another in the losing effort. Trail Blazers get the best of the Cavaliers on the road for a 103-95 victory that had the home crowd booing the Cavs off the floor. Shaden Sharp led the way with 29 points and 10 boards. They'll take their road trip to Salt Lake City Saturday night and face the Jazz. College hoops tonight on 910 ESPN Portland. The Pilots welcoming the Wyoming Cowboys to the Child Center. 6 o'clock tip. Pre-game coverage at 5:30. Portland 2.5-point favorites. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swangard from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Watch and wager on every game at the Spirit Mountain Casino with a sportsbook powered by BetMGM. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required.
can keep you on the sidelines. If you're more likely to get very sick from COVID, ask your doctor if prescription oral treatment is right for you. Visit treatcovid19.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is Pac-12 Championship Week with Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
On 1080 The Fan.
Sprague the line.
Sprague the line.
Sprague the line. Sprague the line.
Sprague the line is brought to you by where Sprague's picks are more shaky than a Camden Lewis 43-yard field goal attempt. It's not going to come down to that. 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 It's not going to come down to that.
What? Give me this. Swag scenario is that like Oregon goes all the way down. They drain the clock. They do a walk-off chip shot.
No.
What's the number that you're officially clinching really firmly on that he's kicking from?
Anything outside the 5-yard line. Sprague the line brought to you by where Dan Lanning is more successful going for it on 4th down against UW than Sprague's picks are.
Oh, easy. Easy peasy there.
He's going to get them all tonight, bitch. Sprague the line brought to you by Oregon weather. Surprisingly good, surprisingly bad, or exactly as expected. Everyone will complain. You're damn right we will. It's been nice in November, though, so far.
Well, the bad weather's here, but yeah, largely I don't have much to complain about.
Sprague the line brought to you by Dirt Sphincter while watching Cam Lewis attempt a game-winning field goal tonight. The only thing tighter than Sprague's budget after his horrific gambling losses. It's not going to come down to that. Sprague the line brought to you by J-Mac, the only thing more annoying than a Sprague pick.
Come on, give it to us.
Colin!
He said, nice play last night, Pete Carroll on 4th down. And Seahawk fan said, he's not the offensive coordinator.
You idiot. Sprague the line brought to you by lying to yourself. Hair getting thin, new board, cramping your golf game. The Ducks are the best team in the country. Just keep telling yourself that none of it's true by lying to yourself. A Dirt Johnson production. I'm now angry. I'm offended.
Has your family talked to you about your insecurities that you've been lashing out about?
Not yet. No. Okay. A lot of lashing out.
I just imagine your mom would be like, Andy.
You look wonderful. Sprague the line brought to you by Xanax, the official NIL sponsor of Camden Lewis and all college kickers, making 40 yards feel like 40 years. All right, there you go. Here's how we did last weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Good weekend as a show.
Oh, yeah.
We went 7-2 combined, a 3-0 weekend for Sprague. You hit on the Dolphins on Black Friday. You hit on the Bills, plus a 3.5 against the Eagles.
Got the gamble against Tip Boy.
And the Ravens, minus 3.5 against the Chargers. Swag, you hit on the Broncos, minus 1.5 against the Browns. The Chiefs, minus 9 against the Raiders. You missed on the Monday Night Football over.
Yeah, I
Bears
whiffed
and Vikings.
on that one. Did not see that turd coming.
No.
Thank God you did, though, right? Right?
I hit on the 49ers on Thanksgiving night against the Seahawks and the Jags minus 2 against the Texans and whiffed on the Broncos and Browns under of 36.5.
Hey, your pick you hammered on Monday, why don't you look up on the TV screen? Nobody's giving you a chance.
Nobody's giving the Niners a chance, dude. Everybody's taking Philly. God, can you just stop jumping on my things, everybody? So here we go. Season standings. Sprague 18-20-1 after your 3-0 weekend. My 2-1 puts me at 26-13. Swag, your 2-1 puts you at 16-23, and that is not counting your 0-1 start because the Cowboys did not cover last night. 3-0, T-Box is yours. Where are we going, Sprague?
I'm going to start with a matchup that I kind of like. I think this is not only an extended period of rest, I think this is a good bounce back spot. This team hasn't been feeling good about themselves for a couple weeks now. Talking about the old Roar Boys, the Fighting Man Campbells. They're heading to New Orleans this weekend.
There's no turds here.
New Orleans is not good. New Orleans never has been good. They might win that division, though, because that division's also not good.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
But he didn't beat Green Bay's ass.
That's such a good line.
He got stuffed like a Thanksgiving turkey.
Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to bury you.
And I think they're going to bury the Saints this weekend. I like their defense and their offense, more importantly, to respond.
God, I love that, man.
And I'm going to take the Lions, who are laying 4 on the road, to get their act together. Traditionally a good team against the spread under Man Campbell.
And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
And they're going to bite all the kneecaps off. Roar Boys, -4. Lay it.
All right, -4. I'm gonna go with a game that I've talked about this since Monday. I've been on it all week. The line is up at 3, so that's fine. I'll take it at 3. I locked it in at 2.5 though on Monday because I was worried the line was going to be at 3. I think the 49ers are playing their best football. They're healthy again. They're going into Philly. Philly's coming off a tough, emotional overtime game this past Sunday. They're playing on a short week. The 49ers have extra rest because they played on Thanksgiving. I think the anger and the frustration of losing the NFC title game the way that they lost it last year is going to come into effect. The 49ers are better statistically, essentially across the board. I love the 49ers in Philly. I got it at 2.5, but you can give me 3 because that's the line today.
No. We talked about this.
Okay.
And I say that
when you lock it in?
I say that because I have a line that I want to ask you about when it's my turn.
Okay, sure. I'll take 2.5. You want to give it to me?
My next pick, I'm not deterred going on the favorites here. The Commanders stink. They're awful.
Here we go.
Yeah,
they're just bad. Yeah. Dolphins, they have a great combo of speed at both the in the backfield as well as down the field. Tyreek Hill is paying for photographers' salaries now. They're rolling. Give me the Dolphins -9.5 on the road.
Okay.
You know his wife is Kenny Vaccaro's sister?
Okay. Didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Good for him.
That was all I had.
Okay.
It's a random factoid.
I don't know if I feel as confident in that line as you do, but I like that you're laying big wood. Lay big wood, Swigard. You're 52.
You sling that wood, Swigard.
Slang that wood. Slang it is what they say. Slang that wood.
That's what the kids say. All right, pick number 2, Sprague.
Isn't it? Was it my turn?
Yeah, I just.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Denver, Houston here.
It's a circle.
Circle. It's actually a triangle. I'm going to go to Denver, Houston. I've liked Houston, and then Ken Barkley's like, I like Denver. I'm going to get away from the point spread. I'm going to go points. I sweated. I had to tease Denver up to 43.5, and I sweated the under of that game last week with Cleveland having no quarterback. I think Denver's defense has played better. It's been the story for them. They've caused a lot of turnovers, given Denver Bronco the ball in short field positions to allow them to score. I think Houston's offense can score and move the ball, and I think Denver's offense can score and move the ball. I'm going to play the over in Denver, Houston, 47.5. Over. Me thinks this is getting to 51 to 52 points.
Okay, over 47.5. I'm going to go with a team that is somehow still alive, I believe, in the division and in the playoff race, and that just tells you how bad the bottom half of these conferences has been this year. I'm going to make sure I got my numbers correct here. Let me look at the division. I believe they're a game out in the division, and the answer is yes, they are. I am gambling for some stupid reason this weekend.
Oh, no.
On the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ooh.
They are at home. They are taking on the Carolina Panthers, who just fired their head coach. The Panthers can't do anything. They just lost by a touchdown to Will Levis. If Will Levis can beat the Panthers by a touchdown, I think the Bucs can beat the Panthers by a touchdown.
Why? Have you seen the Bucs play?
I've actually hit a couple of bets on the Bucs this year. They're only a game. I mean, the Falcons are 5-6. The Saints are 5-6. They both have chances to lose this weekend. If they win, they lose. You're all of a sudden tied for first place at 5-7. Catch the fever with NFC South football. I'm taking the Bucs -5 against the Panthers.
Monday night, Duval County, the Jags hosting the Bengals, who aren't sure who's going to be a quarterback. They got Browning. They've activated McCarron. None of them are a good option. I think the Jags are rolling. They are in play for the #1 seed in the AFC. The Ravens are on a bye. The Dolphins, the Ravens, the Jags, the Chiefs all have 3 losses, so it's going to come down to conference record. I will lay the 8.5 and take the Jags on Monday night.
9.5, 9.5, 8.5.
Big wood for
This guy's got massive wood.
I almost want to fade both those picks.
Why would you say that to him?
Well, I like both those underdogs. I like.
What is there to like about the Bengals, honestly?
I mean, they almost beat the Steelers last weekend.
Their quarterback
Well,
won
the
the Pac-12
Steelers'
title.
offense allows a lot of teams to almost beat them, but they don't beat them.
I mean, are we
My
sure,
only devil's advocate to you on your commies
are we
pick.
sure the Jags are good?
Yeah,
that's
a fair question.
They're good.
Are they?
Okay.
My only thing on the commies is like the commies just had their ultimate awful game against the Cowboys. Like they're just an on-off team.
Yes, they are.
Are you just? I don't know, but I don't blame you for going Dolphins there. Final pick. We need to show consensus here. Dirt, I believe you can back me up here Monday or Tuesday. I believe I was like, I love the Jets getting 3 at home to the Falcons. That number's 2. What do you guys want me to do here? 2, 2.5, 3. Whatever you agree to, I will do.
So you can have the 2. Is that what it was earlier this week?
No, it's 2 now.
It's
it was
2 now. It was
3
3
most, and then it got to 2.5, and then it got to 2.
Okay.
You make the call. I want to abide by the rules here. We got a lot on the line.
I will allow the earlier week line.
3?
Yes, I will allow the earlier week line.
Why am I taking Tim Boyle? You might be asking. I don't know, but Aaron Rodgers is selling season tickets now. I think his belief that he could come back is making the defense feel still engaged. And I don't know if you can play as bad as they did. Also, the Falcons are not a good football team. I refuse to believe that they're good. Arthur Smith is trash. Desmond Ridder throwing picks to Saucy Gardner. I'll take the Jets, Jets, getting 3 at home. I'd even take them at 2, but I'll take the point.
Okay. Last one up. This is a weird week for me. I haven't had many lines that I've liked all week. I've gone back and forth on this game, and I'm going to lean the underdog just because I need an underdog this week. I feel like I haven't gambled enough underdogs. The Browns are off a really bad performance on the road in Denver, a game that I bet the under last weekend, and that obviously did not hit. The Rams are coming off a high of blowing out a bad Cardinals team. The Browns are getting 3.5. I don't think the Rams are very good. I think the Browns running the football and defensively are better than what they showed this past weekend. So you're giving me the hook. I'm going to take the hook. Give me the Browns plus 3.5.
He's elite.
On the road at the LA Rams. Here we go.
Flacco elite.
He's elite, baby. So we got Dolphins minus 9.5 for Swigard against the Commanders. The Jags minus 8.5 Monday night against the Bengals. Sprague is on the Lions minus 4 against the Saints. The Broncos, Texans over of 47.5. And then the Jets plus 3 against the Falcons. I am on the 49ers minus 2.5 against the Eagles. The Bucks minus 5 against the Panthers. And the Brownies plus 3.5 against the Rams. There you go. Sprague in the line every Friday at 8:30. We'll wrap it up. Send you off into your weekend next on The Fan.